I literally said that I can't smile because I got the 5 sutures to my face, and looking at you, immediately I want to
I
smile while
know.
having the
I
conversation.
saw as soon as you said, "Hey, sweetheart," I could see like the side of your mouth do that creep up, and then I saw the regret in your eyes, like, "Oh no."
Ow.
Yeah, we haven't done a podcast since your fall, so like when you
Hmm.
said sutures, no one's gonna know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that is correct. So fell down the stairs in the back, and as I fell down, of course I was carrying a grill. The grill came up, got me right in the upper lip, and yeah, got 5 sutures in
Yeah,
my busted up lip.
your lip, your nose, somehow your hand. You fell on your back, bum, and hurt your neck. You got messed up.
Yeah, it happens. It's not too
Occupational
biggie.
hazard of being a husband.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Part
like
of the
carrying a
process.
grill down for your wife.
Exactly. And honestly, it doesn't even bother me that much. Kind of just is what it is.
Yeah.
And then today, we were specifically kind of talking about parenting. So it's funny that you bring up as far as like husband. What, take us through kind of your history as far as like growing up and,
Again?
well, specifically think of it in parenting style.
Ooh.
So the thing is that like today, you discussed that the topic you want to talk about is parenting. And then the way that you listed it out kind of makes sense. It's like we both grew up and we had single mothers taking care of us.
Mm-hmm.
But even though that was a similarity, our environment was very different. The way that we grew up was different. The parenting styles of our mothers were different. And that then kind of reinforces us, right? Part of that nature versus nurture side.
Mm-hmm.
So does that make sense?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Um, I just since you said take us through your childhood, um, I've been trying to think of the best way of doing that without like exposing certain
Yeah.
people and whatnot.
I get that. I mean, you don't have to go crazy. Like I said, it's more of just think of it from the lens of parenting style. So, like, we don't have to go into, like, the specific details of what happened. Like, for example, my mom was strict. Like, her parenting style in general was very strict. I would get grounded for, like, months at a time, and then I would do something wrong because the, like, evaluation metrics for me were much farther than where I was at the time.
hmm
Does that make sense? Like, she didn't meet me where I was. She had like a very set expectation of what she wanted me to do, and then whenever I didn't meet it, that was essentially the like a longer punishment.
Yeah.
And so I would be like grounded for like years at
Well,
a
in,
time.
in your case, you were seen as like a little adult
Yes.
with a lot of your upbringing. That was how I saw it on the outside and learning about your childhood and your upbringing because although your mom adored you, she also um would treat you like you were a little man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that before we go into my childhood, I think that a lot of parents do that. A lot of parents forget that their kids are just kids. Did you press record by the way?
Yeah.
Okay. um but yeah, their kids are just kids. Um that there are certain parents that are kind of elderly right now,
Hmm.
kind of elderly that are raising young kids and they
Yeah.
do the same thing or they do the total opposite where they're like, "Oh, they're just being a kid," and their kid's just absolutely rotten.
Well,
So,
that is an interesting point. Like, not even looking at us, but like parenting right now, you
mhm.
definitely do have that spectrum. Like we were young parents,
Yeah,
right? But then looking at people that,
we're still young parents.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about young parents now, but
I mean, I'm 30, you're 29. We have an 8-year-old and a 1-year-old. While our co-parents makes it sound like they're in the same household. While our friends and colleagues, people that we do Cub Scouting with and
hmm,
we work with, a lot of parents who have kids that are the same age as Zoe are in their 40s.
yes.
So that's what I've noticed. And
So
like,
that's okay, got it. So
yeah.
comparing us to them, the average of Zoe's parents, friends, whatever,
Mhm.
that group is older than us. That is correct. I would say in general, though, like across the board, I wouldn't say that we're young parents now, though. Like, compared to them at Zoe's age, sure, but
We're young parents for our child. For
yeah.
us having an 8-year-old.
Yeah, but
I
that's
mean, I
not gonna
got pregnant at
change. Yeah.
21.
Yeah.
It's not like we were teen parents, but that's still considered young parents. Like we didn't have, or at least I didn't have that exploration in young adulthood. It was
Mm.
just I finished high school, I'm in college,
Yeah.
parenthood. So
Mm-hmm.
like I didn't get to go out and like explore the world and like live my best life and as a young adult. It was just like I got to live my best life as a parent.
Yeah.
So, but looking at looking at my childhood, um it was hard to say it um in a vague way from the earliest I can remember around like kindergarten. Um my mom did her best, but considering how she was brought up and where she came from, what she didn't know was that her best was not normal. And I didn't know that either.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you taught me a lot that my childhood was filled with violence, neglect. There was a lot going on that no child should experience. So, my mom was overly strict. A lot of stuff didn't make sense. It was other people were trying to parent me and I couldn't understand what was right, what was wrong because one would say one thing and the other would say another, so I was getting in trouble in all directions. A lot of people in and out of the household. We had at one point we were living in a house with 13 people. There were 3 bedrooms and 13 people. And I was either in the living room or the basement. And like I said, my mom did her best. She was working 2 to 3 jobs. So a lot of the time she wasn't home, and I wasn't doing anything to like in her absence speak out of rebellion, but I was the target while she was gone. And whenever she would leave, she didn't know how bad it got. And I didn't say anything because we grew up by the rule of whatever happens in the house stays in the house. Don't complain because that means you're ungrateful. And I also didn't know that I should be complaining because I thought it was normal.
Mm-hmm.
So like not being fed certain days or being shut in the basement, a lot of things were going on. A lot of violence, getting hit and stuff like that. So when she would come around, she's seeing that I'm acting up in school. It was just Becca's being a bad kid.
Mm-hmm.
So strict. As time went on, I was a horrible student, and not till you and I were together in middle school, um, did I start getting my act together. Because she told me if I wanted to date you, I had to be an honor roll student. So I made sure that happened. I was an A honor roll student, and while I didn't do any sports, um, I did take up extra time in like just tutoring sessions because like we couldn't afford um extracurriculars. So if a teacher was like, "Hey, I'll give you extra time before and after school and it's not going to cost you anything, just show up and focus."
Mm-hmm.
I took advantage of that every chance I got because I was like, I know I want to be with my boyfriend. I know that sounds immature, but like that was my goal at the time.
Yeah.
And because that was my goal, I ended up becoming a great student. I stopped fighting. Um when we left Pennsylvania, that was like the new chance type
Yeah.
of thing. So we left Pennsylvania after 5th grade, got to Florida in 6th grade. We were in the bad spot out by OBT in Kirkland in
Mm-hmm.
Florida. So then we had to move again because I got into a fight there. When we moved to the new school in Altamont to Teague Middle School, I got into a couple fights, but I never provoked any of them. I never provoked fights to begin with. It's just I was getting bullied a lot, and then I was like, I didn't know when to control my aggression. Like, I didn't know the difference between self defense and just plain out battery. And I would take it to that level. So when I got to Teague, I would defend myself and then leave it at that. And then almost all the time, there was only one situation where I had to go to court, but almost all the time, um, it got left at that. I would stand my ground. We would either part ways or we would even make up. Because some of my fights were with childhood friends. But when I got with you, I didn't fight. I stopped playing football. Um, I was doing like the best I could to behave at home, but there was so much garbage still going on that even though we left Pennsylvania, we still had a problem between me and my mom because she didn't know what was going on. She didn't know what had happened, and because I didn't know how to communicate that, I just saw it as my mom didn't have time for me. She had time for her boyfriend, my now stepdad. I just call him my dad, but and my brothers. But she never had time for me. That's how I saw it. So I would always lash out. Always got in trouble with just dealing with her, and she would constantly say, "If it wasn't for your mouth, you'd be the perfect child." Because I stopped doing bad things in general.
Mhm.
Um, and I was solely focused on school. Uh, but like I said, she didn't know, and because of her own upbringing, it I don't hold her at fault. She's learned over the years like what is okay, what's not okay. And it's very hard to change yourself after 50 years because that my mom's in her 50s now.
Yeah.
Also she was also a young parent. So she had me um at 20. She had my older brother at 16 or yeah, 16. And our eldest has passed away, but I think she was 15 or 16. She was a teen mom. And there's a 10-year gap between me and my younger brother.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just it is what it is. Come around for high school, you know, you and I break up. I start slipping back into my old tendencies and I'm getting in trouble. Not like I was never one for theft or, you know, whatever these kids out here are doing like steal like well, I said stealing theft. Um like setting things on fire. Cuz like you know I like setting things on fire, but they're like controlled at home.
Yeah, it's not arson.
Yeah, no, not arson, but like I would set something on fire in like a candle because I know it's controlled and I didn't want to get in trouble for it or, you know, burn our house down. But I wasn't out there like running around after midnight doing whatever or sleeping with any guy that I could. I was just a little violent and I would say things to hurt people because I could see it would hurt them. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to hurt like I hurt. So I started slipping back into that.
Yeah.
I stopped caring about some of my studies. Like my health class that I was taking, um, I started skipping that class. And I was hanging out in ROTC class. And I was passing ROTC with flying colors. But I was like picking and choosing one and I wanted to be a good student. And then I started dating somebody that I put my focus on. He was the wrong person. And then I think I kind of used him as an excuse to just like do whatever I wanted and did that for a while. That was essentially like my childhood,
Yeah.
you know. But I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. In a roundabout way. Because I wanted to view it more in the sense of from your mom, like specifically. Not necessarily from her perspective, but objectively her what was her parenting style. But
It was
we
very strict,
yeah, I was say
very
you kind of
harsh.
described it through your lens, like your
Okay.
perspective,
So,
which is
yeah.
fine.
So her parenting style was very strict, very harsh, um, very hypocritical a lot of the times, and it was very unclear.
Mhm.
So like I I'm I'm the type, and I've always been this way, but I didn't know it until after we had Zoe. I didn't know that I take things like not necessarily seriously, but as they're said.
Mhm.
So if you were to tell me, like, hey, I need you to go wash the dishes, at the moment, I'm going to do just the dishes. But if you mean you need me to clean the whole kitchen, then you just need to say that. Because if not, I'm going to focus on just the dishes.
Yeah.
Um, and there was a lot of that type of like miscommunication
Mm.
growing up. I didn't have a lot of my own like properties. I didn't have a bedroom. And
Mm.
when I finally got one, I had to share it with someone else or I lost it because it was only temporary. Um, I didn't know that I was supposed to have my own bed when we were living with my grandfather because apparently she got me one, but then he moved around our sleeping arrangements. So I was again on the couch, either in the basement or on the couch in the living room, and I lost my bed.
Mm.
So for a while, I didn't have a mattress. So there would be times where she would tell me to clean up my mess, and I'm like, I don't have a mess. I don't even have things to make a mess. So I never understood. So I'm just like, I'm either looking at her like she's crazy, or I would say like, what are you talking? I don't have a mess. I didn't make a mess. And then I would get hit for that because I'm talking back. Or there would be times that like it was usually communication. Like it just did not make sense. So yeah, it's just communication was all over the place, very hypocritical, very harsh, very stern. Because don't get me wrong, expecting your kid to make right decisions is acceptable when you teach them the decisions that are right versus wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what the examples were at home.
Yeah.
And when it backboarding off of the decision making into the hypocritical, like we were always taught not to steal, not to smoke, not to drink, don't do drugs, and weapons are bad, respect your elders, and all of that was going on at home. We had SWAT teams storm our house. It wasn't our house; it was my grandfather's house where we had the 13 people living, and it was a total mess. But like I woke up to SWAT coming down the stairs into the basement, and I have no idea what's going on, but I was always taught to respect officers and respect the uniform. So I greeted them like they were buddies. And when you see them at school, when they're doing the tours through school at that time, before all the issues nowadays, um it was it was like casual teachings.
Yeah, they were nice.
Dare, don't do anything bad, stuff like that. They were always nice to us. But not this time around. I was confused. Like, I didn't understand why they were putting all my family members in handcuffs and they were pointing guns at us. I was the only one that wasn't in handcuffs because they said I was too small.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, they weren't using the zip ties. But there was an officer standing right next to me with his weapon and he was ready. And I didn't know what was going on. I just remember going to the school the next day and like my teacher was, I had a horrible teacher, but she was like, why did you skip school? And she had mentioned something that was really petty. And it was something about not having enough money to get to school or something, which I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I ride the bus. But um, at the moment, I didn't have a filter. So I was just like, oh, SWAT was in my house. And like, she didn't believe me. She thought I was making it up.
Yeah.
I was also a problem child. So fair enough. But I had a classmate there that was also one of the downhill neighbors. Like he lived down the hill and he rode the
Mm-hmm.
bus with us. And he was like, yeah, I saw them outside of our house. And like my teacher was like really awkward and she put me in ISS for that. Yeah. It was a Friday, I remember it, and she put me in ISS because I was a disruption to the classroom.
Which is a in-school suspension, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I got you.
I ended up getting a different teacher because I didn't know she was racist and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else caught her doing something in racial debacle and stuff like that. So
I got you. How would you describe your parenting style?
it is harsh. It is stern. Um, I don't know if I'm hypocritical or not. I would have to have you answer that, but I know that I do teach Zoe right from wrong. I know that we set the example at home. Um, I think that Zoe can see I am hard on her, but she can also see that I do love her. and I have to work on the like the love portion more.
Mm.
Like at least showing her.
Yeah.
Um because I know that I'm a very distant person. And I know that for a child it just seems like, "Oh, my mom doesn't love me," type of thing. But she doesn't know that it has nothing to do with me loving you or not. It's just I don't like to be touched. I get extremely overstimulated very fast. Um and I really do not like rebellious type of behavior. Like if I give you instructions, please just do them. But instead, it's the constant like why talk back, and I don't know where that falls under, but I don't like that.
Yeah.
So, how do you see my parenting style? Like what do you see? How do you see it? How do you feel about it?
Um, I mean, it's tough because the thing is that, in my opinion, strict parenting is the right way to do it. Like, especially when they're young, kids need to learn where they fit. And at the very beginning, it should be more strict. I do think though that there has to be a combination of like the carrot and the stick. You know, if they do something positive, they get a positive consequence from that. If they do something negative, they get a negative consequence from that. So we are eye to eye, I feel like, when it comes to that. And Zoe's a hard headed kid. So like
She's both of us
yeah,
because
like
we were
point
both hard
blank, like
headed.
she's tough. Like as a parent, I have a hard time dealing with her sometimes because it'll just be nonstop. Like it'll be you do something wrong, I correct it the nice way, and then after being nice, you just go right back to it. Or so
Hmm.
like I get it. She's tough. Um, so I don't want to say that like your parenting style is wrong or anything like that. From my observation, which we've talked about before, I think you are a little too harsh
Yeah,
and you get a little too mad a little too fast.
yeah.
And so she'll either not do something wrong or not do something that I believe maybe your specific response to it might have been a little bit over the top based off of whatever the action she did. And another thing that I've noticed is it's a little tough to like buffer back into like a normal standpoint. Like for example,
It gets awkward.
well, it's not.
Whenever she gets in trouble, it's
Mhm.
so awkward.
Yeah, I definitely get that, and that is definitely a part of
Yeah,
it.
because I'm like, dude, like a lot of the times, this is an excuse. I'm just like
Mhm.
giving a scenario. But a lot of the times that she gets in trouble, it's like 9 out of the 10 times, it's right in the middle of us having a good time.
Yeah.
You ever notice that?
Hmm.
Like we're trying to just like spoil the crap out of her at that moment and just do fun family things and give her treats and stuff like that. And then she's got to do something dumb.
Yeah.
Or she gets mouthy and she's been like lately she's been really pushing her limits with some of that like trash talk that she's been doing,
Yeah.
like saying that you're dumb, or what you just did was really stupid, or just shut up. And I'm like, whether you're serious or not, that's a problem.
Yeah. Because the thing that we've described to her is we're not your friends. Like we're your parents,
Yeah.
and so you will not talk to us that same way. So yeah, like I said, I get it. It's tough. The thing is that there's no right answer. Like when it comes to us being parents, there's no right answer. And something that I really worry about is that one day I'm going to do something so bad or I'll react to something in the wrong way and that'll be like a defining point in her life as she grows up.
Mhm.
So far, I don't think that we've come to that point. I think that we are doing our best and I think that's it. It's
Yeah.
not
Parenting, along with many other things in the world, is not they're not black and white.
yeah.
Um I know that people say parenting does not come with a manual, but I like to look at other people's experience as the manual.
Mm.
Like you remember when Zoe was baby, I was taking parenting classes. I was reading the books, and that's as close as you can get.
Yeah.
Cuz it's not they're not made in a factory. They're not the same. It's not like you're out there buying a new Chevy Silverado and it comes with the book in the inside. They're all different. And we use Zoe a lot of the times for like our home life stuff because she's 8, she's talking, she's walking, she's going to school. So like it's a little too early to call for Ella.
Yeah.
Ella is just baby, or I should say toddler. Um and there's a lot of things that she does that we really have to like weigh the scales because while we're teaching her boundaries, this is the like she's still in the cornerstone era of her life where anything can make or break her nourishment, her mental and physical nourishment.
Hmm.
And whereas uh, Zoe is where like mentally capable a little bit above her actual age.
Okay.
And she's physically developing faster than I would like her to.
Mm.
Um, but essentially, Zoe is our testing baby.
Yeah.
She's our guinea pig. She was supposed to be our only, but we got blessed with Ella, and everything is trial and error. I do think that that with Zoe, it's going to be a little tough because she's always been praised as the good kid, as the beautiful girl, and she's great to be around. So the reason why I get worried is that I'm worried that it's all going to go to her head and she's going to be this beautiful girl that's smart, but I'm worried that she's going to start treating people below her
Mm.
and she's going to develop an ugly heart. Um so I'm trying to find like the best way to combat that early and continuously.
I gotcha. Just make her do hard stuff.
Hard stuff.
Yeah. Like she sucks at gymnastics. Like that's exactly. Like I said, I think that that's like what we're doing right now is it. Like this is the balance.
I don't
Obviously,
disagree
there's
with
no
you.
correct answer, but
I don't disagree with you, but it's very difficult um to get her to do something hard where the teachers are constantly like, "No, you're doing fine." And I'm like, "No, she sucks. Can you be honest with her?"
mm,
Like I don't hate on my daughter. I want to see her improve.
yeah,
When she does right things, we let her know, we reward her, all the jazz. And when she screws up, it's the same thing. Instead of rewards, we teach her how to do better and we go about it in the opposite way, just like you said earlier. But we're in a time frame right now where teachers, coaches, like people of leadership, um, they are so stuck in a groove where they have to praise kids even when they're screwing up. And I don't know if it's because they're worried what society might say if they actually hold kids accountable,
yeah.
or if some of them are just so soft that they can't hold kids accountable. Because I feel like it's a mixture. It's not just one or the other.
Yeah.
Um and yeah, I don't know. This might seem weird because I know that you had mentioned that I'm very caring to a lot of different demographics. But I heavily disagree with the participation award
Yeah.
and the mindset behind it. Um, like I get you want everyone to feel like they're a winner, but not everyone is a winner. And for those who are doing bare minimum to none, who are being congratulated as winners, and we're just talking about kids right now,
Yeah.
that sets them up for failure in their future lives.
Correct.
Like you either have the rich kid who gets everything handed to them, or you have the not so rich kid who has to go into reality and gets a nasty smack in the face, who usually tends to fall off and they give up. Like no, I don't expect these kids to be working in factories. And unfortunately we have kids around the globe that do But I don't expect that at all. That's not what I'm saying when I say start them out strong. But what I do expect is like they fall down, okay, let them brush it off. Let them cry. But don't rush to pick them up and then to the point where they're never going to experience that hurt again.
Yeah,
They have to. They have to in order to get stronger.
I get it, and I agree with you 100%. Like in this area, I think that it's
Area or era?
area.
Area like where the surrounding area?
No, I'm talking more about like the topic specifically.
Oh, okay.
It's really difficult because strong men create easy times create weak men. Like
Mhm.
that's just like
There's a cycle though.
yeah, like but and then those easy like
The weak
they create hard times.
mhm
And then that hard times
creates
create
strong
strong
men,
men.
and then your cycle begins anew.
And so I think right now there is a certain demographic of people that are pushing forward, that they do have ambition, that they do want to continue on. So I think it really just comes down to, I don't want to say Darwin's theory, but the weak got to go. Because I mean, that's the problem is that the people that were strong, they made things too easy. It's never been easier to be alive. And so now we have more to complain about. And that's what happened to the kids. The kids, their lives are so easy. Everything is fully laid out for them. And obviously, this is specifically in the US. These are with all the safeguards that we have in place. And even though I know that the US isn't perfect, it's a very good environment to raise a child. Like, when you look at the world stage, the US, I don't know a lot of other places that I would rather be as a kid. Like, I'm very thankful that I was born here in the US. And as a kid, the US has so many opportunities, but people just don't take them because they take it all for granted.
Mm.
It becomes an expectation versus something to strive for. And so then they all just cruise. Like I did. Like I cruised the first 19 years of my life. Like almost failed out of everything, never studied, didn't pay attention. And one part of it was when I was young, like in elementary school, I got a big head. I was told, "Oh, you're so smart, this and that." And I took that on as like my persona. And from there, I just slacked for a very long time and just cruised through life as opposed to driving it. And for me, it wasn't until I had an additional responsibility that I valued higher than my own life that I finally have to start the journey to,
Life.
yeah, essentially like become something more than I was. Start really driving life, having ambition, pushing forward. But if you don't have something that pushes you forward, then you've got to run away from something, which is failure. Like there has to be something there, either something that's pulling you forward or something that you're running away from. And ideally, you get a little bit of both.
Mm.
And that's where you get true success, as in people that are successful. And that's not based off the amount of money they make, based off of their specific intelligence. It's like, can you be a solid human being? That's what we should be raising our kids to do, but we just don't. Not now. It's everything is got to lower the bar.
Yeah. I think that a lot of parents, a lot of people are lying to themselves, especially when it comes to being an influencer for someone else. And I think that that is a huge problem. So, I mean, maybe they don't have enough people telling them you're doing it wrong. Maybe they're in denial. I don't know. Cuz like you remember maybe you don't. We had an argument way back. If I'm correct, it was in 2017. And I remember telling you, the joke is only funny the first time.
Mm-hmm.
But when you repeat it so many times, it's reality. And you said, no, Beck, it's still a joke. And I said, well, if it's still a joke, why isn't nobody laughing? And you try to brush it off. And it led into um, me essentially breaking down the issues of your personality at the time.
Yeah.
And it was a little back and forth, like me and you arguing back and forth. And I said to you, Manny, if it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, and looks like a duck, it's a duck. So, if nobody's laughing at your jokes, if people are avoiding talking to you, nobody wants to hang out with you, that means you are the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So, looking at that with parenting, you've got teachers calling you that your kid is acting up in school. Other kids don't want to hang out with them. They're not even showing up to birthday parties. Your kid is the center of problems. They're either getting bullied a lot or they are the bully. You are the problem. Your kid is the problem.
Yeah.
You have to self-evaluate, reevaluate, and do so for your kid. And that's what a lot of people don't want to see right now. And that's coming from someone who was getting bullied. And not until I got older did I realize not only like I was getting bullied for some things that I couldn't control. Like we weren't well off. We were poor. So I had, shabby clothes. Like she did her best. She got me what she could, but they would, the wear and tear because they're not of good quality. Um Not all the times that I have the supplies I was supposed to have for school, or I was on free lunch and it was very apparent because, free lunch people get different lunches than those who pay for lunches, or at the time that's how it was. But then there were things that I could have controlled, like my attitude. And because I let my attitude ride, I was targeted because I was nasty.
Mm.
And because I was nasty, I got into a lot of fights in elementary school from K through 5. I remember I was a second or third grader, and I got into a fight with a fifth grade girl who was huge for fifth grade. But I mean, like, I could have just not. The only reason why I even got into a fight with her was because my older brother was getting into a fight, and she was gonna go tell on him. I should have just let her do her thing. It was none of my business.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are gonna be like, "Well, that's your brother." Like, listen, there's a lot going on that right now in life. He's not my brother. The whole family has come to an agreement. He's gone. But like I said, there's always something that we have control over, and then there's some that we don't. But these kids, these parents, they gotta do some reevaluations heavily. If they want to change the way our future is, and like who contributes to the country, like what you were mentioning earlier, like we live in a good country, where do they think that starts? For all they know, they can be raising another future leader of America.
Mhm.
But instead, your kid comes home, they immediately hop in front of the TV. Who is that benefiting? Just because it makes them happy, quote, air quotes, happy, doesn't mean that they're going to be happy later down on the road when they're high school or young adult out getting a job and they can hardly read and write. I told you about it when I was a high school teacher. I had 12th graders reading at a third grade level, writing like kindergartners. Terrible. And I'm like, I don't even remember what generation that would be responsible for, but regardless, that that shows how little their parents cared for them. Because even though they got to 12th grade and people are like, well, they're practically an adult now, what is the excuse for the years prior to that?
Yeah.
There isn't any. And don't tell me, well, they chose not to. You chose to let that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I refuse to let that happen to our girls.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to be a dictator when it comes to their lives. As of right now, they get certain choices that they get based on their age and their maturity. Clearly, for a 1-year-old, Ella's not going to have all that many choices for herself.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
we are introducing some things that she's starting to learn to choose from things, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes any sense.
Yeah, like give her multiple options and then let her
Yeah.
choose, for sure.
Yeah, like I'll hold things up in both of my hands and I'll like, do you want this or do you want that? And we're starting to teach her boundaries early because she is a very smart she's a very smart toddler, and she's already learning how to push our buttons. As you know, it's comes naturally. She's almost 2. And then for the 8-year-old, Zoe, since she was like 4, she's always had choices. And we've always made it clear, if you choose this, this is what's going to happen. If you choose that, that's what's going to happen. And as she gets older, she's starting to think about it without us necessarily mentioning it. She will ask. And sometimes she'll choose without thinking, and then she's like, "Oh, this was bad. This was a bad choice."
Yeah.
But we're there the whole time. And we will be there the entire time. It doesn't stop. Parenting does not stop. And I've noticed that as well with a lot of parents, that they're always waiting for 18. Because, in this country, 18 is when you're an illegal adult unless you get emancipated.
Emancipated.
Emancipated. Thank you. So unless that happens, 18 is the legal age. And I've seen so many adults that are counting down the days to just wipe their hands of their kids.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is awful.
Yep. Parenting stuff, it's just, there's no right answer. You never know if you're doing something right or wrong until afterwards. Like, it's tough. There's no second chance when it comes to raising your kid. Whatever mistake you make,
And I'm glad you said it.
that's it.
Your grandkids are not second chances. Your nieces, your nephews, your extended family, whatever, a dog and a cat, they're not second chances. This is it. Whatever you do to your child, whether they be blood, adopted, I don't care. Whatever you do to your child, that is it. That is your one and only chance. There is no changing what you have done. You can move on. You can make new as time goes on. But whatever has happened has happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people are going to be, whoever listens to this, they might be hella upset because of that mindset. And I don't care. There are things that I don't agree with. Like, I said the participation award already, but the gentle parenting,
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with it. Um, Mainly because I'm already seeing the results of gentle parenting.
Yeah.
And it's not working, people. It's not. There are no boundaries. And you have kids that, because they've been gentle parent, they don't know how to cope with others.
Yeah.
So they typically end up getting sheltered at home. They get pulled out of the public system, they get homeschooled, and then they become adults. How do you expect them to work?
I would say it's kind of a minority. As far as like getting homeschooled, I feel like most of the time it is public school, but they just get allowed. When it comes to gentle parenting, I wouldn't even say gentle parenting was the problem by itself. I would say that people have a hard time finding the line where, hey, you're not going to be happy with this decision, but it has to be done. And no matter what, like, I'm going to have to put my foot down sometimes, but that doesn't change the fact that I love you. Like, that's the tough part
Mm-hmm.
that parents don't balance. It's either, oh, I have to let them get away with murder, or it's, you're in prison. You know what I'm saying? Like,
The
if anything, yeah,
extremes.
like, it's,
Because that's how our childhood was.
exactly.
It was the extremes.
So and that's what it is. Like, and don't get me wrong, to a certain extent, I get it, because, like, even Zoe will have long times where she's grounded because she just isn't making the right
And her
choices.
her long times don't even, like, seem long.
No, for sure. I
The
mean, she, like,
longest was a week.
waterboarded her sister, and she got grounded for a week with no electronics, and she already doesn't use electronics during the weekday.
Yeah.
So, like, really, it was...
Please don't say that she waterboarded her
She
child,
waterboarded
her
her
sister, because that's not actually what happened.
That's how you explained it to me.
I didn't say she waterboarded her.
Yes, you did. That's literally exactly what you said. exactly
I
what
said
you
she was
said.
drowning her sister.
Now, you also said waterboarded.
I mean, yeah, she practically
That's what
did.
I'm saying. You're the
She
one that
didn't do it
used
on
the term.
purpose, but we need to specify that so DCF doesn't show up at our house. Um, Stop smiling. Or
I'm sorry. It's Zoe's bedtime. Are we?
she
What are
can
we gonna do?
wait.
All right.
No, knowing the school system, they're probably gonna close tomorrow too. Anyway, um, yeah. So I was just taking a look at my notes here, and the gentle parenting. Yeah, going back to that. The two extremes. I've seen the extreme side of gentle parenting. So like I haven't quite seen people use gentle parenting where it's a healthy balance. I've only seen it to where they cut out all disciplinary action. They have moved the students out of public school mainly because the students not doing well in public school with academics and behavior. And I've only seen a few cases of what is it called? Late teens, like young adults. They're entering the workforce 16, 17,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not doing well.
Yeah.
Because they don't know how to take direction
Yeah.
without there being a say so on their own part, and they don't know how to take personal responsibility, accountability. So that's just what I've seen. You have a different what is it called?
Perspective.
Experience,
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I've worked with people that I view as like kids because of dominoes. And honestly, when it comes to them, you can create a work environment that they can succeed. You've got to, but the thing is that you have to meet them where they're at and you have to understand various tools to engage with them. So, for example, being a super strict boss is not always the answer. Like, it's working with them, setting expectations, having training, like a lot of just honestly the HR practices from the business side. Not this is not from the parenting side. This is kind of like dealing with someone where they're at as a business. Those are the things that you need.
So how would that be introduced though to management and HR? Like, do you walk in and you're like, "Hey, I grew up in a gentle parenting household,"
No, you just act like a baby about everything. Like
or
you're just naive, you're irresponsible, you don't pay attention, you don't hold yourself accountable.
and you think that someone's going to keep them on their workforce with that?
I think that we have to adapt.
That
Yeah.
would be DEI.
Well, so that's an example. DEI would just, I mean, that's also not necessarily true because DEI is specifically looking based off of factors like race, religion, sexual orientation, but I'm
and,
just
and
using it
handicap
as
and
age. So,
behavioral
like the
issues.
generation, well, no, not behavioral issues. That's not part of DEI.
Behavioral issues fall under handicap, not just like
Well, no, no, no. Well,
acting
so,
out,
so
but
not,
like diagnosed
okay. Well, that wouldn't be
behavioral issues.
counts. Okay. I get what you're saying. So, when it comes to that, yeah, it just comes down to setting a training and being okay firing people. Like at the end of the day, that's really it. Like when it comes to accountability, the thing that people don't understand is you have to be okay pulling the trigger. Like that's the thing that companies
Well,
they
go back to parenting and accountability.
okay, so when it comes to parenting, the thing is that it's tough because it's all based off personal preference. Like for example, we spank like at least I spank Zoe, like things like that. Like it just depends on whatever it is. Sometimes it won't get to that point. I'll literally just like squeeze her arm,
But
and that's enough for her to like realize like, oh, okay, I have to focus.
so you think it's up to personal preference.
Yeah, there's no right answer. Like I said, like
But
it's
then that contradicts what you said like just a few minutes ago,
what are you talking about?
that we need to raise our kids tough
No, no,
because of the whole
those aren't
Darwin's
separate.
law.
Yeah, yeah, no, but those aren't separate issues. Not everyone's going to act the same way, and there's not one right answer. Like you can
We all
be
need to be raising our kids like the Romans. I'm just kidding.
okay.
I know you're looking at me like you were waiting for
Yeah,
me
I
to
was just
tell
like
you.
waiting for something next.
No, we're not going to be breaking our bones to make them stronger.
Yeah, but when it comes to taking care of your kids, It's not the same because, for example, you can't fire your kids. So, like, there is a
Yes, you can.
line, I mean, for sure, but
You can definitely
there's a
fire your kids.
line that you shouldn't cross when it comes to parenting, that you don't have to do that when it comes to work. Because, they're not your kid. Like, you deal with it differently.
Yeah.
When it comes to parenting, there are certain lines that shouldn't be crossed, for sure.
Yeah.
I do think that sometimes kids don't understand getting grounded. Sometimes they don't understand timeout. Sometimes they don't understand certain things like that, getting things taken away. Like, and so you do have to take it to another level. And sometimes it's getting smacked in the mouth or getting smacked on your bum. Like, but the thing is that if someone's parenting line is not that far, then that's fine too. Like I said, there's no right answer,
Yeah.
truly.
Honestly, if it gets to a point where you find that beating your child may be a solution, you need to take a step back.
Yeah. There's
And I
definitely
mean quite literally beating your child, because a lot of people have this skewed idea that smacking a child on their bum is beating. And I'm like, you have no idea what beating a child is. That's not even like classified legally as beating a child.
yeah.
So, you know, if it has to come down to it, research your laws. Look up some free parenting classes. You'd be surprised how many free parenting classes there are. Some of them are through churches, so like that might just be a bullet you have to take, but there is good material out there.
Yeah.
And I say it like that because I know that there are quite a bit of people that are not religious, but there's still good material there. You can weigh out the religious aspect and take the good morals of the teachings.
Yeah. For sure. Use different.
Use different like guidelines to figure out what you need to do with your kid, because not every kid's the same, and that's something I struggle with.
Mhm.
um even even though I have experience with teaching in various different personalities, and I have my younger brother with his autism and every other problem under the sun, and growing up in a very diverse household, it's still difficult for me to understand every kid has different needs.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about just handicap. I'm just talking about like your atypical kid. Everyone's different.
Mhm.
Um, but everyone needs boundaries.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. The thing is that there has to be a line. Like, there has to be a line that you truly hold your
Yeah.
kids accountable. I will say, though, one really tough part is respect. If your kid doesn't respect you, I'm going to be honest, there's nothing you can do.
Yep.
Because, like, any consequence, any times out, anything like that has to come with at least a base layer of respect. Your
Mm-hmm.
kid has to follow your words at some layer.
And there's a difference between respect and fear.
Yeah, correct. But sometimes,
The people get that line is very hazy.
yeah,
So, like you're teaching me that too. And I think that's also something that I grew up with, because we were under the impression that if we feared our mother, we respected her.
hmm
And there was a lot of fear. Um, I never dared to cross her. She said that at one point I put my hands on her, and I'm like, there's no way. There's no way, because I wouldn't be alive. And like we joke about it, but I'm like there have been times that I have hurt to the point where like I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to hurt like this.
mm
And I'm like, there's no way I put my hands on my mom and I'm able to live this long in life and have kids. I still heavily believe in that. But like I said, like that we grew up in a household of fear, so under my impression that was respect. And then you taught me, you're like, that's not normal. You can gain the respect of someone without making them fear you. And I know some people disagree. Some people believe that you have to instill fear to gain respect. But now that I'm more mature, I understand that that is a cowardice way of gaining respect, and it is horrible, because they they may fear and respect you at that moment, but they will never love you
Hmm.
in that moment. And that's something that a lot of people have to come to realize
Yeah.
that the human mind and heart is not as simple as just saying a word. Like if a child says, I love you to their parent, you have to determine, are you saying that because you're scared? And if you say it, you are securing your place? Or do you genuinely love me because I make you feel safe? Like what type of love is that?
Yeah.
And that's another thing that parent versus child, that's a struggle.
It's kind of like remember like mobsters and like old gangsters and gangs and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
you love the Don or you love the boss or whatever, and it's really fear. Like it's not necessarily respect and it's not really love, but at the same time, you do have gang members that truly take care of like their city or their town or their street, and that's certainly a part of it. There has to be.
That falls in line with loving the idea of what they can do for you and who they can be, but that's not loving them.
Could be for sure.
Because like if you love the gang that is supposedly quote unquote securing you in your street, you just love that they provide security, but you don't love that gang
Yeah.
because they're still a gang. They're still a problem.
Well, I mean, maybe like there's actual like gangs and stuff that truly do take care of the community. So it really is something that can kind of be bought. Like even when it comes to your kids. Like if I had to deal with a kid who did not respect me at the base level, I would have to increase the consequence to the point where they finally did understand that they don't have control. Which sounds bad, but that's really it. Like there's no other. So for example, let's say it's like a 10 to 13-year-old, rebellious, but also old enough that like you're not really spanking them. And sometimes like for myself and my mom was short. At 13 years old, I was already bigger than her. So like if I didn't respect her,
You were just a little bit taller than her. Because
yeah.
remember we were together.
Yeah, but if I didn't respect her, like I certainly don't fear her. You know what I mean? Like there has to be that level of respect cuz
You better watch out, man. She'll take out your
I
kneecaps.
did I did accept the punishment she gave me and things like that because there was still that level of respect and a part of it probably was fear.
I think that it really depends. Because to this day, I have I've always lived by the motto of you never too grown to get beat. And I don't know if it's because like I've seen what my mom can do and who she is or was, I should say. And she's also a larger woman, but or if it's just like that fear that dwells.
Yeah.
But I think when it's created and it's embedded, it doesn't go away. And that's something that like I can't tell if it's a good or bad thing. And that may sound bad because like I'm 30 now, and we live states away, and I absolutely adore my mom. Um, but I don't know if it's a good or bad thing.
I got you. I feel like we can't talk about parenting without talking about Bluey.
Oh yes, I was so glad you were gonna bring it up because I wanted to, but I'm like, man, it's gonna really point out my maturity level.
No, the thing is,
Bluey is spot on.
from what I see, Bluey is genuinely like perfect parenting.
Yeah.
But they have unlimited energy.
They
and
don't have
clearly
unlimited energy. They even had
a
an
lot of
episode where
money.
the parents were drunk. And like it doesn't say that they're drunk, but they show all the signs of what is the word? Hangover?
Yeah.
Like it's what is it? Whale? I think it's called Whale, the episode.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Where Chili's on the couch.
Yep, and then
she's
the
like
kids
it's
climb
too
on top
loud.
of them.
She's eating chips off of her chest. The dad is portraying a boat, I believe.
Yep. They're going
And
whale watching.
yeah, because he was like, yeah, I'll play with you, but I'm not gonna move.
Yep.
So he's laying on his tummy with the girls on his back, and he's also like, oh, you guys are too loud, when they're really not. But they the parents are they're hungover. They're You can't convince me otherwise. And this is why I said they're not unlimited energy. But they do everything that they can to engage with their daughters.
Yeah, and I will say, like, I consider myself a pretty good dad. Obviously, I'm not perfect. Always room for improvement. I don't have that energy, man. Like Zoe will be like, "Hey, let's play magic, or let's play magical statues,
To
or
be fair, you've
so whatever."
never had that
And
energy.
I'm like, "No, Zoe. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, can we watch a movie, or you can put on one of your stupid YouTube shows or whatever?" Like, the thing also is that I want to have fun when I engage with her. I don't want it to feel like a chore. So I specifically ask to do
Magical
stuff that I
statues
also like to do.
is not a chore. Yeah, it's about you and your interest. Because I noticed that you'll jump on her on the on jump on her. No, you'll jump on the trampoline with her.
Yeah.
Quite often when the season's right.
Yeah.
We are in a place that you can't jump on it when it's cold. But um, and you'll go out. You'll do softball. You'll
Hmm.
do skateboarding, soccer, tennis. Like these are all things that interest you. But magical statues just doesn't interest you. And there was this in Bluey too. At first, Bandit did not want to play magical statues. You remember when they started playing, Bluey didn't want to either. She was in a funk.
I remember that
But
episode, yeah.
Bandit started the music, stopped it. He was like, "You blink, you blink, you blink. You're
Yeah.
all out." Like he wasn't interested in doing
I
it.
just watched that one today.
Yeah, I think I watched it this morning too because Ella
Hmm.
Ella is in her Bluey phase, but they don't always have that energy. They don't always want to participate. I mean, how many times do you hear the parents go, "Oh no," when the kids want to play a certain
Yeah,
game?
but they do it anyways. Like, they never tell them no.
Eventually, but there are times that they're like they really just do not want to or they cannot.
No, for sure. But it's super rare. Like, they are always on.
That's also a show that only shows them when they're all together.
For sure. I'm just
So
saying,
like we
like,
can only imagine what
that's why I
it's
said,
like
though, perfect
when
parenting.
Chili had to go to work for what was that one? Where the one that was like they freeze each other?
Oh, they froze dad?
The little xylophone?
Yeah, magic xylophone.
Yeah. Yeah, that one. Chili had to leave for work. She couldn't engage. She had to go. And you only get a glimpse of what it's like when one parent is at home, whereas you don't get a glimpse of more of their day to day. It's a
Mm.
7-minute episode anyway, so like
Yeah, no, for sure.
I'm sure that they have their ups and downs. We see some of it, not a whole lot, but it is the ideal parenting.
That's what I'm saying. It's perfect parenting.
Yeah.
Like, they always have the energy whenever, yeah, obviously whenever it shows up.
It
They
also helps
never
that their
get
kids
overly
aren't like
mad.
terrible, like Muffin.
For sure.
I know people are like, she's a toddler. She's also a terrible toddler. She's a brat.
Yeah, for sure. No, Muffin needs to get spanked. We need to reset expectations when
Yeah,
it comes to Muffin.
like the episode with where they're doodling on the tablets,
Mm-hmm.
and
Muffin doesn't share.
yeah, and
And the dad
Trixie,
chases
the
them.
mom didn't communicate with the father that she was trying a new parenting style where they don't even do timeout,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually they have to put her in timeout because she dropped the phone in the pool.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, it shouldn't have gotten to that point. Like you're having to chase your child all throughout the house because she won't give something back that doesn't belong to her and she's hogging.
What I will say, though, is that they stop and they have a conversation and they come to an agreement.
Yeah.
And then they chase her together.
Yep. Which
I like
segues
it.
into our co-parenting discussion.
Yeah.
So I am really glad that you pointed that out. And I'm also glad that you even noticed it because like there are a lot of things that you can miss in a cartoon, especially when it's a kid's cartoon on for the kids. But that is something that I appreciate so much that we communicate like nobody's business.
Yeah.
And excuse me.
Excuse, my legs are itchy.
We'll scratch them.
I did.
When I say we communicate like nobody's business, it's not just we greet each other when we come home from work. We sit down at the table and we have meals together. No, I'm talking about like outside of this podcast, we can have political discussions, we can have religious discussions, we can have discussions where we critique each other
Mhm.
on some of like the nitty gritty. We can have an argument and come right back down to earth. We don't go to bed angry. We do not hold on to things till the following day. That's and a lot of it comes from you. Um, because you have taught me that there are better ways to communicate something than putting your hands on someone else or each other, taking it out on your kids, just completely ignoring each other.
Hmm.
Like you've taught me so many things since the start of us being together. And I'm talking about like way back in middle school cuz like just observing how you and your mom would talk. I would learn like this is how people are supposed to talk to each other. And it's not just about cursing and yelling at each other. And while at the time I didn't curse, I was still like, either I yelled at you or I just avoided talking to you altogether.
Yeah.
And I would be really petty. And then into our adulthood, you kept teaching me. And then I taught you communication isn't just about staying calm in the heat of the moment, but also saying what's on your mind. And you have to set goals for each other, saying like, hey, I really don't like that you do X, Y, and Z. And I have to receive it without getting upset. Ask what you would like me to do better about X, Y, and Z. Like that's actual communicating.
Mhm.
And a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah,
Um
that's hard.
it is hard, but I value it so much and I would not want my relationship with you to be any different.
Mhm.
Like we have really grown and fought to be where we are. And I don't mean like fought physically like with each other. I mean like climbed the ladder together type of fought.
Yeah.
And I think we've also reached a level of marital maturity that a lot of people in their elderly ages haven't reached, and some of them die without reaching it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's really sad. And like we also share a lot of responsibilities, regardless of what's in between our legs and regardless of how we grew up. Like you come home from working. Sometimes it's an 8 to 9 hour day. Sometimes you have to work even longer. You have to work two jobs and you still are like, Beck, what do you need help with? And I'm just like, this is my husband. This
Mhm.
is my husband. And I'm not sharing him with nobody else. I'm sorry. But I'm just like, man, this is awesome. I think it also helps that I'm not, in my opinion, I'm not using and abusing you. Using and abusing you. So like it really helps that we show each other respect
Yeah.
at all times of the day. And when either of us feel a certain way, like if I think it was the other day, you said something I was not keen on.
Mhm.
And I think I not necessarily corrected you, but I vocalized like I didn't like that. I don't want you to do it again type of thing.
Mhm.
You explained your side. I explained my side further, like as to why I don't like it. And then you were like, all right, not going to happen again. And we went on about our business.
Yeah.
And we didn't ignore each other. Instead, we just segued into the next conversation.
Mhm.
That's huge. I know that with I won't get too deep into it because I want to stay on topic, but I know with the most recent like political stuff going on, we had what a 3 hour conversation
I think so.
where
Yeah.
I was like, hey, this is what's been on my mind. This is what's bugging me. And you could see I was like super passionate and concerned about a
Mhm.
lot that was going on. And I think when a lot more information came into light, you were like, I messed up. And I remember at the time I was like, are you saying that like to shut me up or do you genuinely mean that? And I don't remember what you said. Did you genuinely mean it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so even I just remember that at the end of the day, we were good.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember now. Yes, you genuinely meant it. And that's also another thing. Admitting when we're wrong.
Mm.
And that's huge when it comes to co-parenting. Cuz we're not around each other at all times of the day, at all times with the kids. So it's incredibly important that we still stay on the same page.
Yeah.
So when I make changes, I do the best. And I say I do the best because sometimes I forget to inform you. But when I make changes, I'll send you a message if you're at work. And I'm like, hey, this is what we're going to do for Zoe now. And this is why. And you'll do the same. You're usually a lot better with it. But yeah, that like how we openly communicate with each other is something that I think that a lot of people should work towards. And too many people are ready to give up and too fast. And I know that we've been there. I'm guilty of it. Where I'm just like we're just too unevenly yoked and I'm like I don't see this working and stuff like that and you're like, Beck, you're upset because I burnt the eggs. That's not exactly what happened, but
Yeah, yeah,
I'm saying like it wasn't that big of a deal. I went off the handle. You got to bring me back to earth.
yeah,
And I think that's very important. It's not like, we're manipulating each other either, and that's also huge.
yeah.
Um I think I'm not going to say always, but I have seen it in quite a bit of relationships and situations where one of the partners is extremely manipulative, um, and they make the other partner think that it's their fault
Mm.
all the time. Um, we could use ourselves as an example. You remember back when we weren't that great,
Yeah.
together. Early relationship, we were still maturing. You were still maturing.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, but like people need to know we haven't always been here.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I mean?
absolutely. It was a whole path to get just this.
Yeah. Like I don't know if you remember all that much about like your side and what was going on, but
Hmm.
um the when you tell your partner, you're crazy over something that they are concerned or they're making allegations with. I mean, are they crazy or are they actually right and you got busted?
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
like you need to own up. Yes, stop being immature, own up to it, take responsibility, and either tough it out with them or accept that it went wrong and you're going to have to move on. Because what happens in that is you tear someone else down in the process.
Yeah.
Even if you come out being like, I ain't going to lose any sleep over this, you're screwing with someone else's mindset and heart. Like, you need to not do that. And a lot of people are selfish that they know this and they don't care. I'm not saying that you were like that. I mean, like, you were a little bit, but eventually you understood, like, it's screwed up
Mm.
and you got to fix it.
Yeah.
But it can severely alter parenting and co-parenting because what you do um as yourself in parenting and what you do with your co-parent reflects on the kids. And then the kids start mirroring your behaviors.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you've noticed, but Zoe is extremely affectionate. And I think that it's because of how we engage with each other. She's affectionate like on the physical aspect, she definitely gets that from you. She never wants to stop hugging one of us, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, I can't let me approach you,
Yeah.
you
Like a
know?
cat. I know. You're like a
Yes.
cat.
And then she's also very good about words of affection. Like out of the blue, even when I'm pissed off with her and she knows that I'm pissed off with her, she's just like, I love you so much. And like you're the best mom. And I'm like, that's what we're showing her when we're talking to each other.
Yeah.
Cuz even when we're upset and we're going through it, we're not yelling. And most of the time we're not arguing in front of her. We don't allow our kids to be present for that stuff.
Yeah.
But when she sees us on a different path than each other, she still sees how much we care about each other. We're not throwing words of hate. We don't insult each other. And we're always like, I love you. Like, I'm glad we talked about this. We give each other our hugs and kisses. And it's constant, like, affirmations. And I think she sees that and she's mirroring that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. She just recently we were having a conversation at the staircase and she was eating. She left to come over to us and say that she wants us to stop arguing. And in
Ugh.
turn, both of us addressed her and we're like, this isn't us arguing.
Yeah.
We're having a discussion
Yeah. We were
as
talking loudly
adults.
because we were like apart. We weren't directly in front of each other.
Correct. But we had to reset our expectations like, no, this is how adults communicate. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we're having conversation. We're a little loud because we're far away, but we're not mad. We're not angry. Like, we're just
Like, we're
trying to
not
talk to each
agreeing
other.
on something, but we're also not arguing on it.
Exactly. And it's something that we have to teach her how to communicate.
Yeah.
And also teach her that not everyone is going to be like that. Like,
Yeah.
that's not, in my opinion, that's not normal. Like, our communication style is abnormal because normal is like normal sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. The normal is far below what we have here.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that we have been slowly teaching her, is that a lot of kids, we are prime examples, did not grow up with both parents, did not have a father in their life, did not have a loving relationship to look up to. And I've explained to her, I'm like, Zoe, there are some kids that they may have both parents in their lives, but one or both parents are a problem.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's something that you are blessed with. You have both parents in your lives, both love you, both love each other, and they've provided you everything that you need and more. Like, you have the life. Like, don't get me wrong, we're not rich in wealth, but
Yeah.
we're rich in love.
Exactly.
And for me, that's winning. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Because, like, I don't need to be rich in wealth, but I need to be rich in my family, like, values.
I'm happy you finally see that.
What do you mean? I told you we're not winning money.
I know. And I said that that's not all there is.
Yeah.
And because you let it
Like, I'm still
consume your
stressed.
life.
I'm still stressed.
Yeah.
Like, you just pointed out that our house is falling apart more than I realized, but that's a different topic. But yeah, I've been not a daily reminder, but kind of occasionally. So when she points out, like, I love, she'll say to me, I love when we have barbecues together. And it's just the four of us.
Mm-hmm.
You, me, Ella, and her. And she'll say, I love when we're playing in the cul-de-sac. And she points out all these things that we're doing as a family, or even sometimes where it's just me and her and you're home with Ella. And I'm like, yeah, that's because we're a family and we're operating as a family.
Yeah.
So that's not something that every kid can say. Like, I know some great people right now who are within our community. Dad's not in the picture and mom has to live with her parents taking care of her daughter.
Yeah.
Great mom, has a wonderful relationship with her daughter, but, like, things didn't work out with the parents. Mom's struggling because of, the other end isn't there to pick up the slack, and there's a lot of issues where it comes to undermining. That's also something that we don't have to run into often.
Yeah.
And I know that we've had a couple of occurrences where, like, undermining occurs. We talk to each other about it. It gets situated. We even make it known to Zoe, like, hey, I wasn't aware that Daddy wanted this. Or you say the same thing and vice versa.
Yeah.
We nip it in the bud, and then she understands. I can't get away with going around one parent
Yeah.
to the other. And she does try, but then she gets caught and it makes the situation worse for herself.
For sure.
But I'm very glad that we don't have to deal with that. Where, like, one parent is the one that has to make all the serious decisions and the other one's the fun parent, air quotes.
Yeah.
You know?
Mhm.
So, because I remember for a little bit I was worried about that. I'm like, Zoe knows her dad as the fun parent. And at first I'm like, I can't really blame him for trying to be the fun parent because you were gone for the first 3 years, so you had to play catch up.
Yeah.
and show her that you're not coming home. And mind you, you weren't gone slacking off. You're deployed, but it's not like you were coming home to then crack down the whip.
Yeah.
But then you eased back in and you had to show her, like, no, you're not going to disrespect your mom. And no, I'm not going to let you stay up even though your mom told you you have to be in bed for school tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then you started easing into it more to where it's not like your mom said this, your mom said to do this. It's this is what your responsibilities are. There's no discussing it.
Yeah.
And like I 100% appreciate that. We are in that together.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can't say that they can. And I'm not, I'm not batting them or anything like that. I'm just grateful for what we have.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And when it comes to the co-parenting, I noticed that you were teaching me how to change my parenting from what I've been taught from my mom.
Yeah, and I don't want to overstep because I don't want to change you. You know what I mean? But
Changes are good though.
I want the
Sometimes.
interactions that you have with Zoe. I want more of them to be positive than negative.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one big way of that is how we handle punishment and disciplinary action. Because Zoe's a little shithead. So obviously she's going to get in trouble a lot.
Yeah.
But that doesn't have to ruin the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And sometimes it does. Like you've seen, sometimes I let my bipolar really get the best of me.
Mm-hmm.
I know that. I know that I'm not strong all the time like I should be, especially for my girls. And you've seen that I am on cloud 9 right off the drop. I'm a morning person. I wake up, I'm ready to go. And there are times that Zoe comes out of her room just ready to bring that ship down. Don't laugh, don't smile. And I'm not saying it to bully her. Like, you've seen her do it.
Yeah,
You've
no.
seen her come out of her room, she'll say something stupid or she'll do something stupid. She's even been hella rude. Like, I remember one day she came out of the bathroom just after showering, and I was in the middle of doing curriculum for Cub Scouts. And she was like, "Mom, why are you so fat?" And I'm just like, WTF. If I had a thought cloud that she could see, that's what it would say. But I'm slowly learning that I don't need to react so negatively, so fast all the time.
Yeah.
And I know that there are some times where I have those slumps where it's just like that, and I'm like, I really could use some help getting out because I'm trying, and I can't seem to climb out by myself.
Yeah.
And there are times that I'm like, man, I really look to you guys, and I know it's a lot of pressure, but I really look to you guys to give me joy. Because when I see my family with joy, I'm happy. And when I see them not with joy, and Zoe's just being a little crapper sometimes, I'm just like, what is the point of me being happy if you're not happy?
Yeah.
But that's also an environment I grew up in. If mom was upset, everybody was upset. And I remember I said that to her one day, and I will never forget the sting I felt on my face after that. And since then, I've never said it again. Because I said straight out, because she came home from work hella pissed. All of the chores were done, but she still had something to harp on me about.
Yeah.
And I said, just because you're upset doesn't mean I have to be upset. I didn't even see her hand move, but I felt it afterwards.
Yeah.
I don't need to give that to Zoe though.
Yeah.
And Ella, like, I'm not excluding. It's just Zoe's in the current of discipline and hyper focus essentially of the parenting. So, for your side, how would you say you're changing the parenting from what you grew up with Zoe?
A lot of ways. So one example is my mom was strict with me, but her original goals were unrealistic based off of where I was at the time. So, for example, Zoe in second grade, she actually no, I'll even say like first grade. Very, very bad behavior at school. So we had to meet her where she was. And so
Hmm.
that meant like a behavior chart
Yeah.
and then not we she got so much stuff taken away for such a long amount of time that I felt that we had to reset expectations.
Yeah.
And so then we did the Skittles thing or like the treat thing where she got one little piece of candy every day that she got, 5 smiley faces at school.
Hmm.
Just reset expectations. Like, all right,
And it wasn't just at home. Like we weren't just coming down on her at home. It was at school.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
we were
like
getting
everywhere.
constant reports from school.
Correct. Like she was doing a bad job. She wasn't
Yeah.
listening. She
When
was
she was
talking
with
too much.
grandparents on visits, they were
Yeah,
like,
like
"We don't
just
know what's going on with her."
100%. So reset expectations. I had to do some self evaluation myself, see where she was objectively, and then reevaluate. Was like, okay, your behavior sucks, so this is the bare minimum. I can't expect you to be perfect, so this is where you should be at. And it was like 5 smiley faces, and then 1 straight faces was okay. Like,
Hmm.
I'll give you the chance to make a mistake, but then can you fix it,
It
right?
was rough all school year though.
Yep, but
Like
then at
not
the
towards the
end,
end,
exactly.
towards the summer,
Hmm.
did she kind of start doing better?
No, she got significantly better.
Not significantly.
Becca, no, no,
Well,
no, no, no,
remember
no.
because when we were heading into the summer, I remember
Uh-huh.
she got in trouble in the last week of school. And I said, "You're about to go and travel and stay with your grandparents for the summer break. Like I can't trust you to do that."
Yes, for sure. But you've got to think of it by the metrics. Like, we did smiley faces because that is genuinely, it's a 1 out of 3. Like, the very low end is a frowny face.
It was out of 5.
No, 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 I'm saying it's a frowny face is a 1. A straight face is like a 2, and then a happy face is like
Yeah,
a
it
3.
was a 5. There was 5 faces. I made the behavior
Okay,
chart.
so that's fine. So, but like that's like it's literally like a metric of success. She got frowny faces 90% of the time towards the like middle of the school year when it first got implemented, and then by the end of it, she was getting near perfect. Like she
She
would
would
get
have like 4 smiles and like those big cheesy
yeah,
smiles
yeah, and
and
like
like one frown or a meh
exactly.
type of
So
face.
that is success.
Like she got better, but
Significant. Like if you go from a 90% failure,
think of it as water. So if you're at the bottom of the lake and you start swimming up and you've got your nose just above the water, doesn't mean that you're doing great.
but no, see, but I think that you're looking at it incorrectly. I think that you should look at it as she was drowning and then she started swimming. Like, it is success. Like, for where she was, because that's, you asked me the difference. I met her where she was.
Hmm.
Like, she couldn't get a good day, no matter what.
That's true. Yeah,
Like, she
that's
couldn't get a
very
good
true.
day. And then by the end of it, every day was good,
Yeah.
and she would have one bad day. Like, that is success.
Yeah. This year
Like,
she's doing a lot better, but I have a feeling it's because of the home school situation. She saw it as a punishment, even though we
yeah,
saw it as like a luxury because
yeah,
we're like, dude, you knock out your courses and then you have, if you do it Monday through Wednesday hard, you have Thursday to Sunday off.
yeah. It does not, yeah. For her,
It was for, yeah,
she's a social person. So,
yeah.
like, she can't,
She saw it as a consequence.
mhm.
So now in school, she's doing phenomenally.
Yeah,
Like she's got straight A's, top tier straight A's, and her behavior is good. Her teacher says that the worst that Zoe does is that she's a talker.
yeah,
But she's actually, because remember last year she had an issue with her hands, keeping her hands
yeah,
to herself. Talking, saying mean things. She was throwing stuff in the class. Whereas this year it's just talking. And I remember it was a little rough when she got reintroduced to the physical classroom. And then you good?
yeah. It just hurts a little bit. It started
Okay,
stinging all of a sudden.
I got you. And then we had more concentrated discussions on that Zoe is responsible for Zoe.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of what's going on in the classroom, Zoe's responsible for Zoe.
Yeah.
And she's got that pretty concrete now. So I think it was last week she got a note sent home for bad behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently everyone in the class did because it was just that bad.
Yeah.
And the teacher even said, like, I don't want this happening again, but I need everyone to be aware. I didn't just nitpick at one individual. Everyone did bad.
Yeah.
But this year has been very good.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, it was success.
Yeah.
We created a plan that met her where she was at, and then objectively, like, she improved, and now this year she's continuing
And I think
improving.
that was successful because of how you changed the outlook on a lot of things. Because when I saw the bad behavior, I was just ready to take all of her stuff
I
away.
know.
And
Yeah.
then you were like, Beck, meet me in the middle. And you showed me that having some sort of reward system when she does good and not just, you live to see the next day,
Mm-hmm.
it is beneficial.
Yeah.
Because I grew up like, and I would tell you, like, Manny, I didn't have a reward system. So, like, I knew I had to behave. And you were like, well, what did that do for you? And you were right.
Yeah.
I lived my life in fear and I was a miserable child. So, I'm glad that I have you in on it with me.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you've changed things from your childhood like the parenting that you grew up with, and the way you're changing the parenting I grew up with, and how to make sure I don't follow or fall in the same footsteps.
Yeah.
I think it's extremely beneficial for our girls right now. And like, I get parents that are like, how do you do it? And I'm like, I don't know. I talk to my husband. I
Yeah.
work with him. We ask our moms. And like, even our moms are like, I regret doing this, this, and this.
I don't ask my mom.
I do.
I was gonna say that's not something.
I talk to your mom frequently, but I'll ask them. Like when we were little crappers, I'm really trying to curse less, so.
Mm-hmm.
But when we were bad bugs, um, what did you do, and how would you have liked to have handled it better? And their answers, you would think that they were lying. Because, like, you're like, I know you. I know who you used to be,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not that person anymore. And they answer in a way that, like, if I was more emotionally mature, like, more mature to be a parent, I would do better doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And I take that type of wisdom and I try to use it as best as possible. And then I'll tell you, like, hey, I think we should do this, not just based on what I ask our parents, but based on, like, I'm Googling stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Like, my kid is a great kid, but they have this type of problem. And then I'll see different articles on what I can do for that. It's a never-ending learning lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I've said it before, like, if you're not learning in life, you're not living.
Yeah, for sure.
So never stop learning, because you're passing that down. And I think it's incredibly important to change parenting styles where it's needed, because not everything works.
Yeah. You asked me what parenting styles I've changed from like my mom to now for
Mm-hmm.
myself. Another one for me is I treat Zoe with the same respect that I would treat one of my employees. Like one of my team members at work, like if I don't raise my voice at work, I don't have to.
Yeah, no,
Like,
I've worked with you in multiple fields, and I think only in UPS did you raise your voice, because nobody could hear each other.
yeah, for sure.
That was
Like,
it.
other than the job required it genuinely,
Yeah.
like, I don't raise my voice. Like, I can give someone a performance improvement plan. I can counsel someone. I can mentor someone. I can discipline someone. I don't have to yell at you. And Zoe makes me mad.
Yeah.
Like, does, she knows how to flip
Yeah.
that switch. But I just think of her like that. Like, I think
Yeah.
of her like, all right, you are a human being and you deserve respect. Like, and
Yeah.
I do that for her. Like,
I
I
think there's
give
only been
her
like 3
respect.
or 4 times where you've had to yell at Zoe.
No, that's not true. I've yelled at Zoe.
Mm,
Like, I don't do it often, but I mean,
like, you
and
yell, though. There's a difference
no, for
between just
sure.
talking loudly, because you do talk loudly,
Yeah.
and that's a regular thing. But I'm talking about, like, yell, because you're frustrated,
Yeah.
or even have to smack her on her bum for disciplinary action, because you're so well self-controlled
Hmm.
and maintained. Um, and I know that when Manny gets to that point, he really is upset.
Yeah.
Cuz like you can be upset and still keep your cool. And
Hmm.
that's something that a lot of us respect about you. And I've taught Zoe, like, if you get your dad to that point, you screwed up.
You do say that, yeah.
And I've told her, and I'm just like, you need to chill out, Zoe, because your father's not the type to fly off the handle.
Yeah.
That's and he's not the type to um get upset with you even when you deserve disciplinary action.
Hmm.
And we've had sit downs, me and her. After you have disciplined her, I'll have a sit down and I'll explain to her, like, you screwed up, man. In no way, shape, or form can I defend you on anything because you got him to that point where I know you were in the wrong.
Yeah.
And a lot of people might be like, well, um, maybe he was wrong for getting to that. No, 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 no. Knowing my husband and who he is, no. Like, you always find a justifiable reason behind a lot of like Zoe's behaviors because she's a
Hmm.
kid and you have to remind me like she's a kid back.
Yeah.
Like she's screwing up. Let's just follow through with this plan and then go with this. So like when you blow your top, I'm like, "Oh, sucks for her."
Yeah, actually right now, Zoe and me, I'm actually in a more forceful parenting season with her. Specifically because I was very nice to her for a very long time and I really gave her grace and I was very, very calm with her. And she chose to not
She took advantage
let
of
it
it.
work.
I think you
Yeah,
should reword that because like you're always nice to her,
for sure, for sure.
regardless of the mood.
But like,
But you give her plenty of grace.
yeah, like she would do something and it deserved a punishment, but I tried to be nice and reframe it for her in a way that she understands, like, hey, like, I need to fix this because dad doesn't want to be mad. Like, I tell her that point blank, like, I don't want to be mad.
Yeah.
Like, I want to give you nice stuff.
Yeah.
I want us to have fun together. I want any interaction that I have with you to be positive.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason those don't happen is because of your specific actions.
Yep.
And I don't let her past actions influence the current time frame, but at the same time, like I said with other
Depending on
parents,
severity.
for sure, but as I said with other parents, like there has to be a line.
Mm-hmm.
I was super nice. You wanted to take advantage of it? Okay. Don't worry.
Yep.
I'm good. Like I will punish you and I will sleep just fine.
Yeah.
Like I'll smack your bottom. I'll take away your electronics. I will do whatever needs to be done. It's okay.
Yeah.
I've told her point blank because one thing as well is after I punish her, I always sit with her afterwards and we have a conversation.
Then that's something that I didn't grow up with. I don't know if you did, but
No, no. If my mom got like super pissed, like that was it.
yeah, I didn't grow up with that. It was if I did something wrong, it was immediate physical consequence.
Hmm.
Um and I would get, whatever I had at the moment taken away. Um and that was it. Most of the time I wouldn't even know what I got in trouble for. And I think that's really important that you have that discussion. For one, Zoe actually gets told and warned ahead of time before consequences come,
Yeah, for
which
sure.
is supposed to be normal.
Yeah, gotta give him a chance.
Yeah. So like we let her know ahead of time, you better stop now before it gets bad.
Yeah, even tried like giving her key words like thunder and
I think it was
rainbow.
like rainbow or unicorn or something like
Yeah,
that. Like unicorn if she was doing good
yeah,
and thunder if she was doing bad.
correct.
I
Like
couldn't get
I
behind it
tried
because I
different
kept
things,
forgetting.
and that's fine. But like I tried different things
I would
to
just let
help.
her know outright, like, Zoe, I'm not happy with you right now with what you're doing. So you need to go and I'll remove her from the situation. That way it gives us both time to cool off. She'll have time to think about what she's done.
Hmm.
She comes back. I explain to her what has been aggravating me that she's doing. Um, there are a few things that she will do, and I'm like, that's an immediate hard no.
Yeah,
And like that, it depends. Like the situation with her sister and the waterboarding. Unacceptable to the fullest.
yeah. And by waterboarding, we don't mean she laid her sister back in a chair tied her up, and then put a towel on top of her face and then poured water. Because
No.
that is literally waterboarding.
Yes.
She was in the shower with her sister, and she was getting a cup of water and then poured it on her face. But the thing that made it the point where
It
it
was
had,
bad.
yeah, it required disciplinary action is that Becca could hear the baby gargling from the room over,
Yeah.
and like long gargling.
It seemed malicious because I could hear Zoe on repeat splashing her sister, asking Ella, "Are you okay? Ella, are you okay?" And she kept splashing her sister in the face. "Ella, are you okay?" And I could hear like that baby gargle, that
Hmm.
baby gasp. To go in and see Ella's eyes like bulging out of her face, and she's got her mouth wide open, and she, like hands are up. Babies can only communicate so much.
Yeah.
And but you can tell enough just by the body language. She's gasping, eyes are bulging, hands are up in the motion of stop. And that was it. That's all I was like, I no. Immediate disciplinary action.
Yep. That's why she got smacked in the bum for it.
Like
Like, because, and another thing
I
is,
didn't even hit her. I had to bring you in because I'm like, if I deal with her right now, I'm gonna go overboard. So
yeah.
I had to remove her. I told her to go in her room, not to say anything, not to speak, just stay in her room.
Hmm.
And then that's when I let you know, so that way you can go deal with her, and I would go ahead and take care of Ella.
Yep. And then at first, she didn't even, that's the other thing is she didn't even get spanked first.
No,
Originally, her only punishment was I took away her electronics. And then she chose to complain. And that's when I was like, I specifically took a
yeah.
nice punishment for you because you obviously deserved a consequence. You know you did. And then I still gave you a nicer consequence,
But
and then
clearly
you
you don't
choose.
understand the severity of
Yep.
it.
And I said, okay. And I didn't give a second chance. And I said, all right, then you're getting smacked in the bum
Yeah.
and losing your electronics.
Yeah. And
Because
then the
they're,
following day, she asked me if she could use her electronics. And I almost flipped my top because she was like, I don't understand why I'm grounded. And I said, it's because you tried to drown your sister in the shower. And then she was like, oh, all right.
yeah. Yeah. She's 8. She's going to forget stuff. She's not going to understand the severity of her actions. But it's us to teach her that.
Yeah.
Like she's not going to know until someone teaches her, and that's us.
Yeah.
One big thing when it comes to parenting that I tell her is that I can't control her.
Yeah.
Like, I make that very, very clear. Like, I cannot
I mean,
control
we
her
can try,
actions.
but how well is that going to actually work?
Well, no, we genuinely can't. The thing is that when it comes to raising your kid, no matter what, they're gonna do what they want to do, even if they know the consequence, even if they know the negative outcome, even if they know whatever. They're their own person. Like, they're either gonna listen to you or not. They're gonna make their choice. They're gonna move forward. You can't control it. Like, as a parent, I genuinely, outside of like putting a gun to her head, which I would never do,
That's what
like,
Judge Judy says too.
yeah,
When
like, I
people are like,
can't control
I
her.
could I couldn't control it, or they would say, I had no choice.
Yeah,
The immediate question she has is, did they have a gun to your head?
yeah. But that's
Did they have someone you care about in not custody, but what's that word?
like hostage.
Hostage. Thank you. She'll ask all the important questions because she actually has to do process of elimination.
Mm,
And if they're no, then she's like, then you had control.
yep,
You had the choice. You made a bad choice.
exactly.
But it's I think it's also a matter. I think the reason why I said we can control her is because growing up in a house of manipulation, that's what I'm thinking about. Is
Gotcha.
is like
Okay.
a parent can do whatever they want to their kid, bad or good, and essentially they can control their kids through their efforts. But I think it's good that we choose not to.
Well, I actually just think that we genuinely can't. I think that parents think they can control their kids, but that's how you just get rebellious kids. Like, for example, a kid when they're at school, they're gonna act the way that they choose to act.
Hmm.
Like, when a kid goes out in the
My older
street
brother's an
or they
example for you.
play,
We had
yeah,
the same upbringing.
yeah, but like, but that's what I'm saying. Like, parents think they have control over their kid, but fundamentally, it's wrong. Like, there is no control. And in my opinion, as far as parenting, the earlier that you realize that, the more you can understand, like, okay, all I can do is show you right from wrong and hope that you choose right. But that's it.
Hmm.
Like, there is no control. Like, we genuinely cannot control Zoe. Even if we were super micromanaging, even if we, like, put a GPS on her and followed her around
Which we
and
had a
made sure everything was
GPS on her,
happening,
but it wasn't for that.
yeah, it was just for safety.
Yeah,
Like,
because we were living in a dangerous area.
yeah,
Um, well, not even before, because we had one before that, but it was a matter of like I did not trust the public system,
yeah.
and like sending her to and from daycare, I was like, anyone can take my kid.
Yeah, but I'm saying like in a sense of controlling or trying to use whatever method to coerce them into doing what you want them to
Yeah,
do, they're still going to make their own choice.
and I think the other way. Like I think that a parent can, but I think we choose not to,
Hmm.
and I'm glad we choose not to because even if you weren't in the picture, I would still choose not to
Yeah.
because it's not just free will. It's that is a human being with a soul, and like you should be treating her as such, or any child, any person,
Yeah.
instead of just thinking of them as your puppet and doing having them do what you want them to do. So I know that may sound contradictory because as parents, we want her to do the best and we want her to take care of herself and we want her to learn to be healthy and make good choices. Um, but I think in this case that is that's okay because we're only wanting the best for her
Yeah.
and we're not being manipulative. Um, there is no in my opinion, there's no ulterior motive. We want to make sure that she is happy and healthy.
Hmm.
And I think that when it comes to changing our parenting styles to make sure that they're not the same bad parenting styles that we grew up with, it is very important that we also stop ourselves in tracks if we find ourselves getting a little too close to that.
Yeah.
Because I think to an extent, it's good to be strict with our kids, 100%.
Hmm.
Um, Not just because of the boundaries, but they need to learn how to set boundaries for themselves.
For sure, they need to learn how to act and interact with the world.
Yes. And I think that it's incredibly important that Zoe learns how to love herself, how to accept proper love, and doesn't like that's another thing is that I'm so grateful that I didn't just hop in bed with any guy because I had daddy issues.
Hmm.
Thankfully, I didn't have daddy issues cuz I don't want to like go there too much because I'm trying to rebuild a relationship with my biological father while maintaining a great relationship with my stepdad. But my bio dad, he wasn't in the picture. And while my mom had boyfriends and whatnot, I was just like, every man that has come into my life has been a problem.
Hmm.
So I don't need a man. Thankfully, I went a little bit more into that direction for a long time, and that's what kept me out of the bed
Yeah.
with men. But I'm hoping that one, Zoe never has to experience anything along that route, and two, that she learns to love herself and keep a standard, a high enough standard that she doesn't just like the next hoodlum that comes along. And I say hoodlum because like it doesn't matter what they look like.
Yeah.
If they're a slacker with no goal and just a piece of trash, they're a hoodlum. But I hope that she doesn't just hop in bed with them because they're like, hey, I love you, and shows her all the wrong type of love,
Yeah.
you know? And it's Ella too, eventually. It's just that she's like I said, it's mainly Zoe's the hyper focus. And then there's the matter of adapting with changes as parents, which I can't sorry about that.
You're good.
I can't quite remember. No, I didn't specify adapting to plans changing. How would you say we do with coping when it comes to that, adapting to plans changing?
I'd say I'm really good and you're okay.
Yeah, you can straight up go ahead.
Yeah, like I mean, as far as adapting to change, I think that I'm like good at that. I would say I'm above average when it comes to change. I can be put in any environment.
Hmm.
I'll be alright.
Yeah.
I think that when it comes to that as a parent, it's the same way. I can objectively, well, I don't want to go over the top either because when I discuss this and when I answer this question, it's only based off my current mindset. So I don't
Okay.
want to make it seem like as if this has always been the case. You know what I mean?
Okay, so share the before and after,
Yeah, like
or before
I've
and now.
always been okay when it comes to adapting,
Hmm.
but
Yeah,
not
big facts.
necessarily as a parent. Like for me, the first 3 years, so 2016 through like 2019, I was deployed.
Yeah.
I was more focused on career. I mean, in general, I would say for the last decade, I've been focused, like hyper focused on my career and still like the reason was for the family, which I know that you didn't understand that a while
Even
back.
though I asked you to take the third deployment.
Yeah.
I know.
But like
It's very conflicting.
yeah, no, for sure. I totally get it.
Yeah.
But I truly when Zoe was born, like I realized that I had to step up. And so for me, it meant making money because, we live in a world of capitalism. If you don't have enough money, nothing else matters. Like,
Yeah.
good intentions are great, but if you don't have actual monetary finances and a roof, shelter, food, like, you know, it's great that you think that things are good, like, but that's what actually matters. And so that was my job. Like, my job that I gave to myself was to make sure that you guys were always provided for. And sometimes that meant doing 3 jobs at once with also doing school to get to my ultimate goal, whatever. But it was always with you guys was the reason that I was doing that. And at the time frame, I wasn't very good at explaining it. Like,
No, your communications were horrible.
yeah, but I also didn't fully understand it either.
You
Like,
also didn't know how to express yourself.
yeah,
Cause
for
like
sure.
you
Like,
grew up thinking that a man had to be masculine. They don't share their feelings, and like all this essentially garbage. Because I'm like, you're still a person.
I mean, yes and no. I wouldn't say it's garbage. I would say that I had to go through that. Like, those were good life lessons. Like,
Stop doing the Trump hands.
that's funny. But those are good life lessons. Like, being able to take, being able to take no matter what comes at you, being able to deal with it calmly, not letting your emotions be on your shoulder or like on your sleeve. Like, those are all good things.
Those are good things. But you're very stoic, so you weren't discussing anything. We had to
Yeah.
get you there.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. I definitely think that I was on one extreme.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I realized that it's always been extreme. Like I said, balance has never been real. Like it's not an effective thing. Like you have to go full send, and then once you go full send, you see where the line is, and then you can start to backpedal. But you've got to really push. And so that's what I did. But for me, as far as a parent, that was my focus. Like as a parent, I was the breadwinner. I was the person that had to make sure that you guys were taken care of monetarily. And I then, because of that, slacked on the actual household side. But when I did come back home, I was able to adapt. I was able to keep going. And then even when the third deployment, really the same thing. Like came back, was able to readapt again, and now really go through like the parenting side from home, which is more of like the balance where I take care of them as well in the mornings, as well as getting ready for work and then going out and stuff like that. So yeah, I would just say it's different positions
Mhm.
is kind of like a way to frame it. But at the end of the day, my goal was always I want the best for you guys.
Mhm. Yeah, I have to say that you've always been pretty dang good at adapting to change. There are some changes that you didn't do so great with,
Mm.
and that was like the overstimulated socializing. Not you overstimulating and shutting down, but in the opposite direction, or where you needed to like to fit in. You remember
Mm-hmm.
back when you were like, "Oh, I have to do these questionable things to build rapport and
Mm-hmm.
like really put us through the ringer relationship wise for it." And I won't go through details, but I noticed that when it comes to changes, it was the social aspect, um, the party life, that's kind of where you struggle to balance that with family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because at the end of the day, your mindset was as long as I keep my career and keep making money, there should be no problems.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the only area you faltered. Now, I can't say that maybe that's different now because you haven't been put into a situation like that for years.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope that yeah, it's different now. Um, but I have no way of testing the theory.
Yeah.
So, I'm just going to assume that yeah, it's better now. um, but you are are there's I can't even think of the thing right now because there's an animal that just adapts to everything. And I'm like, that's Manny.
Mm-hmm.
That's you. It's really you. Because like I've never seen someone that's just tossed into a new environment and you're like, this is life now.
Mm-hmm.
And you just take it like it was you've been there the whole time. You learn your new enclosure. You learn your new environment, like physical environment, any new regulations, laws and stuff like that, the new norms and where to find your resources. You learn some stuff so fast and how to place yourself so quickly that in my opinion it's a skill. And I love that because what you're also doing is you're teaching the girls how to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um which Zoe is good at, not socially though, because she can get into a new environment no problem. I think it also has helped that she's been traveling since she was a baby.
Yeah.
So I what was it, 2 months, 3 months?
Something like that. Yeah.
We flew to go see you, and she was the quietest one on the plane. No issues. Since then, every time we've traveled, no issues. We move. The most she ever says anything about is that she's gonna miss her friends and family.
Yeah.
She doesn't care about where she's living at. She doesn't care about what she has access to or not. Zoe is just like you. The social aspect is the only thing that she struggles with in the sense of like she misses her people.
Yeah. But she picks up real easily.
Yes, because she's a butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
And Zoe makes friends just by looking at somebody. She really does. Like, you ever
Yeah.
notice that? We'll go to a park, she looks at someone, and they run up to her, and they're like, "You want to play?"
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. That's all it takes. It's incredible because like, I'm so glad that she has that personality.
Yeah.
And she's not like me. Ella, I'm a little worried about because she's showing a lot of my tendencies. So I think she might struggle. Um, and we'll adapt. But I'm seeing like she does show anxiety and she gets really overstimulated really quickly. She doesn't like to be touched unless she wants to be touched.
I don't know. She's all over me.
That's like it depends on what she wants.
Yeah.
So like I really think that us adapting to change is important. I don't do well. Like I always want change, but when I have change that isn't something that I've asked for, I
Mm-hmm.
get extremely upset. And I think that I was gung ho for the St. Louis thing because you brought it up to me ahead of time and you were like, "Hey, there's this opportunity." And I was like, "Oh my god, that's a huge leap in your career." I was scared
Yeah.
because I'm like, that's going to be completely separated from my family. And like I'm like, man, I finally have a good relationship with my mother-in-law and things are going well with everybody's stuff down here. How am I supposed to take care of Zoe because Ella wasn't in the picture yet? But like, how am I supposed to take care of Zoe without like parents' help and stuff like
Yeah.
that? But verbally, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And then when we get out into St. Louis, I'm like, oh, it's snowing. It's so cute. Bop, bop, bop. And I'm like, we gotta leave. I was not happy about it.
Yeah.
It's just, um, we had to move from there and then move again. Traveling to see you on deployments wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Um, there was a couple of incidents during travel that, some guy was yanking it and staring at us, and I was
Mhm.
not happy with that. Like when I
Yeah, I
stopped
remember.
and I was trying to sleep. Um, there were some areas that during travel I was really nervous about, but I don't know. It's just that you've always been my security blanket. So as long as I
Yeah.
have my Manny, I'm okay. And then when I don't, I'm a little freaked out.
Yeah. But the thing is, sweetheart, is that like in all honesty, you grew up a lot from that.
What do you mean?
You were hyper dependent on your family. Like your mom
My
specifically,
mom, yeah,
you were codependent on
because
her
we
for
always
everything.
moved, but we always moved with mom.
Exactly.
So
And
like
so you were always
she
comfortable
was
with
always
her.
my blanket too.
And even when you moved out, you were super close to the point where you could just see her
Yeah,
almost any
we're
time.
still close. Like moving doesn't change our
No, I meant
relationship.
physically.
Oh,
Like
oh,
physically, like you
yeah,
could just drive right down the street and you could see her
yeah.
pretty much any day, any time. And this was the first time where you were really separated from her
We're
and you
hurting.
were kind of on your own.
Yeah, we're hurting emotionally a lot. Like right now, me
Well,
and her.
yeah, you and her. But the thing is that I did that for the first time when I was 17 for the military.
Hmm.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, you grow up a lot when you go out on your own and you realize like no one's coming to save you.
Yeah, because even when I was homeless, she didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't make it known. Um, and I was living with Sean at one point, and she was taking care of me. Sean is the woman, by
Hmm.
the way, and that was going on. I was just a city over. Was it a city over? Sanford
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah. It
Claremont?
wasn't super far.
Yeah, it wasn't super far. Um, Me and my mom weren't on good basis,
Yeah.
but I knew that if anything fell through, I could still go home.
Hmm.
And during the time I was homeless and she didn't know, that was when I was in college. And the only reason why she didn't know is I didn't want her to feel bad.
Yeah.
Like I was going to college because she told me I either go to college or I leave the house. Like I move out.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to move out, which I ended up doing anyway. But I didn't want her to feel bad thinking that she pushed me to that because I chose a college far from home.
Hmm.
I didn't choose it to get away from her. I chose it because they had the smallest classes that, like, out of all the colleges in our
Yeah, you
radius.
chose the private college.
Yeah, but they had the smallest classes and I needed small class setting. So I was like, this at the end of the day was my choice to go here.
Yeah.
And I wanted to stick it out. So for that brief moment I was homeless, your mom took me in. But still, I value my relationship with my mom because we've gone through heck and back, and I think that we've grown really strong, especially now that she's come to light with a lot of information she didn't know. She's now understanding that she wasn't the source of all the problems,
Yeah.
and I think that really helps, and it helps my parenting as well because I'm like weights off my chest. She knows. Now if anyone tries to bring it up, like I don't have to like lessen the blow or anything like that.
Yeah.
We can piggyback off each other's experiences. We're teaching each other still. Like my mom will talk to me and ask me about like what's the best alternative for some of the things that she has to do with my younger brother.
Hmm.
And I'm like, that's a huge honor in my opinion because you're my mom.
Yeah.
And you're asking me about a parenting choice. And I think that's huge. That means that I'm doing good. And she sees that we are doing what we need to do for our kids. So the fact that she's looking to us to see what's best for my younger brother, like
Yeah.
that's really big. Or even some of her career choices, she'll go to you and she just got this huge raise because of what you talked to her about.
Yeah.
And like, that's really big. But reflecting back on change, I think you're 100% right that I think I don't adapt well to change because I haven't spent enough time on my own to know how to adapt by myself.
I agree and disagree with you
Oh
on
yeah?
this point. Because
Okay.
the thing is that you will adapt. Like you can adapt. You have the skill. You're able to do it. You just don't like it because it feels uncomfortable. Like it's discomfort, you know? You're fully self-responsible. You don't have like a family net to watch you, but you got through it. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Which means you have
yeah.
the skills. So like I said, like you are to me a classic example of like the limiting beliefs or the
What is the
imposter
limiting
syndrome.
beliefs?
Imposter syndrome is how you resonate with it. But like you are good and you are able to adjust. You're able to go out on a place completely by yourself and be okay.
Yeah, maybe because I there are quite a bit of times that I'm like I'm ready to pack up and run back.
For sure. But the thing is that you don't though.
Well, no, my family needs me here.
But that's what I'm saying. So that's success.
Okay.
Like honestly, like that's why I say like it is that's where your imposter syndrome comes from. You're currently doing it, but you're worried that you're not able to do it. You know what I mean? You're already doing the thing.
I it's not that I'm worried I'm capable of doing. I'm worried if I can keep it up.
But
That
you've
there's a
already kept it up for
difference.
8 years. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, there's still many to go.
for sure, but you're enjoying the process now. That's the other thing is it's not like before. Like it's not a strain, it's not pain. Like you're seeing the path to success. That's why I said like Becca, you're in a great spot. Like you're in an upward direction. And in my opinion, you're only moving up. And maybe it's with your career, maybe it's with education, maybe it's with the homesteading and your personal hobbies.
Which, by the way, I made sourdough bread today. Woo woo!
A
It
hundred
tasted
percent.
great.
Maybe it's with your parenting style. Maybe it's with traveling. Maybe it's with your learning a new language because you're learning Spanish. Like Becca, that is success. And like I said, you're 30 years old. We've talked about this. Like,
Oh, I feel so much older.
and honestly, we've talked about this too. That's the difference between, growing up and following the path of like Tintina versus growing up and following the path of my mom. Like around the same age, two women who are around the same age who were older, but one of them acts like they're kind of 1 foot,
90.
yeah, like
One
you
foot
know,
in the grave.
much older, and then the other one is roughly the same age, but
She's
goes
paddleboarding.
kayaking, paddleboarding, hiking, biking, like lives an active life, has a career she cares about, same age, which means it's all
Yeah.
internal.
Yeah, I guess.
So like I said, for
Well, my
you, like
body's pretty broken up though.
okay, but
Mm.
you know how to fix it. Physical therapy, occupational therapy, working out, watching your diet.
Yeah.
Like we know the answer. You know what I'm saying? Like it just comes down
No, because you
to
said it's all internal. I'm like, I've had a few accidents.
but it is no for sure, but like it's stuff that you can control
Can
where you're at
fix.
right
Yeah.
now. Like
I can at least reduce the issues. Yeah.
exactly. Like, we're never going to be perfect, but we are who we are. It all just comes down
Like
to what we
when
make
I
it.
say I feel older, it's not even about my body.
Yeah.
Like my body, yeah, I do feel a little bit older, but like not too crazy. Mentally, I feel like an immature 70-year-old. And I know that sounds insane,
No, I get it.
but like I'm and I don't know if this is from like mental issues or anything like that. But like there are days that I'm just like, yeah, I feel all right and I'll be having a great day.
Hmm.
No complaints. Someone's like, how you feeling? And externally I'll say I'm good, but inside I'm just like I am ready to croak. And like not like suicidal thoughts, but I'm
Yeah.
just like I think like tonight might be the night I don't wake up. And I'm just like universally tired.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know, maybe I'm growing lazy, but I'm exhausted all
Yeah.
the time. And that has nothing to do with our current topic at the moment with the changes, but like, oh my God. I don't know if it's 30s. A lot of people are like, oh, when you hit 30, that's how you feel. I've been feeling this way for a long time now.
Yeah.
and like pushing out energy that I'm essentially borrowing.
Mhm. Yeah, can't relate. Sorry.
I know. I don't even drink caffeine. That messes with me too much. But anyway,
Mm.
adapting to change as parents though.
Yeah, yeah. The thing is that you're already doing it. Like you adapt to change. You do a good job.
As parents though.
Yeah, as a
Like
parent.
refocus. We did it like more broader stroke and like so or stroke. Not stroke, but broader sense. Um but looking at the parenting aspect,
Yeah,
Ella
sweetheart.
was Ella was a huge surprise.
Yeah, and we overcame it, and
Oh no, I'm
she's
not saying it's a
grown
bad
well.
thing.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that she did come into our lives because I remember I was scared
Hmm.
because I'm like, dude, the first pregnancy was rough.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about like I got fat and Zoe was rearranging my organs, but no, you remember all the ish that we had to
Yeah.
go through, the constant scare of like it's gonna be it's gonna be me or her.
Hmm.
And I remember signing paperwork that was like, who do we save, mom or baby? And I was like, baby? Like she's got a whole life ahead of her. I've at least lived a little portion of it.
Yeah.
But when it came time to Ella, if I had known I was pregnant before we got that apartment, I would have pushed for either a house at the time or a 3 bedroom at the time.
Yeah.
And uh probably different arrangements cuz like when we found out we were pregnant with Ella, you had just gotten let go, or we found out and then you had just gotten let go.
Yep.
Um and I think that when you had gotten let go, I think that it probably would have been a financially smart call to move back to the parents. Get a little bit more on our feet, go ahead and push harder for Omni to get more established.
I'm happy we didn't.
I know. And I have to agree with you because that would have been like if you were like Beck, it's your call, I would have went with that and I would have been miserable.
Yeah.
Cuz I hate Florida.
Yeah.
I love my family, I hate the state.
I know, which is why we don't live there.
Yeah.
Like that's
Like it's
honestly the
fun to
reason.
vacation in. That's how I see New York. It's fun
Yeah.
to vacation in, but I cannot live there.
Yeah. Like that's honestly why we don't live there. Because I'm fine moving back to Florida. It does not matter to me at
Oh, I
all.
thought you said no because of the heat too.
No, I already told you.
Okay.
I don't. I will live anywhere. Like I do not care. I will have any job. I will do whatever. Like does not matter to me. I just want to be with you guys. Like that's it.
Well,
Wherever
you
we're
can't
at.
be with a miserable Becca because you made that clear too.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's. I wouldn't even say that. It's just like pick what you want.
I want my family to go wherever I go, and that's selfish.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
not just my household family. I'm talking
Hmm.
about like my parents,
Yeah.
my cousins, my uncles, whatever. But when we had the deal with the change with Ella, it was relatively easy.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be hard with having our moms in Florida, but they made frequent trips.
Hmm.
Um, my mom surprised you went and picked her up at the airport and then picked me up from work and she was in the back. I
Yeah.
cried. I don't remember if that was during delivery or like the couple weeks before delivery. That was a few weeks before delivery because she had to go back home and then come back with
Yes.
my younger
Yeah.
brother. But yeah, that was smoother than I assumed it to be. Having a newborn come in and then adapting to those changes. The other change was when I'm trying to remember something. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
It's okay.
Oh, my career, most recently I was like in and out of jobs.
Hmm.
Those were kind of rough.
Yeah.
So I left the casino because I had found employment that was going to pay me better with better benefits.
Hmm.
And one of the like the bittersweet things about the casino was because they let you go.
Yeah.
So I loved working with my direct team, my IT team. I wasn't a fan of working with the others. especially when I had to interact with HR,
Yeah.
and they they were acting like I was trying to hunt them down.
Hmm.
Because every time that they would call a ticket in, I was usually the one to handle it.
Yeah.
And I would go down, ask them to go ahead and show me the issue, and then they would try to leave the room. And I would tell them, like, I cannot be in this room unless you're here, because not too long after you got fired, um, someone, I can't even remember anymore, but I like the who it was, but someone on the casino team had accused one of us of stealing from the
The
office.
IT group. Yeah.
So because of that, um, our boss made sure we were not to be in a workspace, in someone else's workspace, without them present.
Hmm.
And we upheld that to the key.
Yeah.
It was me. I was accused from stealing from your old office
Hmm.
when you got laid off when I went to go pick up your stuff.
Yeah. I remember.
Now I remember. Oh, how did I forget that? That's right, because they accused me of stealing a phone based
From my
charger.
understanding, they also accused uh Trey
But it
later.
was I believe it was the director that accused him of taking something from her office.
No, I think it was Patty, and it was paperwork.
I didn't drop names for a reason, but okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. But I don't remember Trey, but I wouldn't put it past it. But yeah. That was a change that was rough, changing from the casino, cuz I was comfortable with them.
Hmm.
I was learning here and there, but not a lot. Um there wasn't a lot to offer on the learning aspect
Yeah.
because their stuff was relatively outdated, and once you learned it, that was it.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas when I left them to work for the IT consultant that supported that law firm,
Hmm.
there was so much,
Yeah.
and it was constantly changing because we were supporting um over 100 locations.
Hmm.
So every location had a different software to abide by that state's law. So it was so much. But for me, it was like, this is what I wanted.
Yeah.
It was like constant flow of knowledge, and every day was something new to keep me engaged. But then I got fired.
Hmm.
That was a change that really put me at a like a kind of I want to give up type of phase.
Yeah.
And even though I got the other job just like 3 months after, the repair job for the
Hmm.
computers, it was still relatively hard. And I wasn't even with the job for the IT consultant for the law firm
Hmm.
for that long.
Yeah.
But it was like I got comfortable so quick.
And it was a
Not
blow.
comfortable to where I was complacent, but like this is my new team. I'm excited.
Yeah.
And like I left my other job on my own accord to be here. So it was, yeah, it was a little bit of blur. Um I sunk everything into this new job, the repair job. And then things started going south because like about midway of the year, um things started going south. There was a lack of accountability. Data management was a mess. It was just a mess all around. And then eventually I got let go because the company was going through some financial issues that they had to recuperate from. And even though I was their top earner, I was also the most expensive employee. So they let me go. That was hard, but it wasn't unexpected. Because
Hmm.
I remember when I sent you that message that I got let go, um, I was already filling out job applications because I had been wanting to leave.
Yeah.
And I remember you came and you were like, "Hey, are you okay?" And I was just like, "Yeah, I'm not surprised. I knew this was coming,
Yeah.
and I'm busy filling out my next steps." And thankfully, I had Lowe's going on. And even though it wasn't a lot, because I got Lowe's just to cover our health insurance,
Hmm.
it was still something
Yeah.
to keep me going. And I told you, like, "Hey, I need you to go and talk to these people. Talk to your people, get you back into Domino's." And thankfully, we're the type of people, we don't burn our bridges,
Yeah.
because even though we're like, "Hey, I really don't like it here," we keep it cordial. we end on good terms. So that way, if we have to reopen that bridge, I mean, unfortunately, it's not the same for you with the casino, but I don't think you should ever go back. Like I know I've thought about it. Like we could really use the money. Maybe if you go ask them really nicely.
Yeah, I remember you asked me that, and I was
Yeah,
like, no.
but like, what would that exactly show them? That they could take advantage of you. So no, and you probably wouldn't be treated very well either. So there are some changes that I've had a really hard time coping with.
Yeah.
And then there are some that I'm a little bit more welcoming. I think out of all the changes that have ever occurred though, the hardest was and I'll get back to how this impacts the parenting aspect, but the hardest was having people move in and out of our house when I was in childhood.
Yeah.
And like it wasn't just like mom's boyfriends or relatives, but it was also like my grandmother played a heavy role in my childhood trauma. She was on drugs all the time.
Hmm.
And I didn't understand. Um I was taught when I was a very very young kid that my grandmother was just a sick person. And I took pity on the sick
Yeah.
because in my mind I'm just like they can't control it. So I would get upset with my family members that were getting upset with her for being sick. And I remember she had overdosed, but I didn't know she had overdosed. I thought she was just sick. Her eyes were rolling. She was throwing up. I was holding her upright. I was 6, and I was holding her upright so that way she wouldn't choke on her throw up. And I'm holding a bowl under her head.
Hmm.
And like my grandfather's cursing, and he's like, "This is just another attempt to get attention." And everyone's yelling at each other. Everyone's fighting. I think someone had called an ambulance. And um, I remember uh I think my mom was called, but I can't remember if she was in New York at that time because she had a job. She had 2 jobs in New York and one in Pennsylvania. But I'm just like, my grandmother's dying, and they're just fighting with each other,
Hmm.
and I had no idea. Not until she tried beating me while she was heavily intoxicated did they finally tell me like your grandmother's on drugs and she doesn't know what she's doing when she's like this. And even though I didn't understand the concept of drugs, I understood that now that when I see her behaving like this, she's no longer my grandmother.
Yeah, it's not to be pitied.
Right. She's someone completely different.
Hmm.
She made a decision that alters her and makes her this violent that now I can't be around her.
Hmm.
And even though we are close in my early childhood, since that day, I was like, never again. Like my grandmother was someone that I stayed close to, and I was like, now I can't trust you.
Yeah.
Because you came and you beat on me for reasons I don't understand. Because she told me it was I didn't clean the chores that she asked me to, and I was the only one who did chores that day.
Yeah.
But she still came and attacked me, and I fought back. But when you brought me to that point, I'm like, you can only beat a dog so much before they start biting you.
Hmm.
And I think with the parenting, the changes that I've adapted to throughout life, that has really affected the girls too. Because never will they experience that.
Yeah.
I remember the most aggressive that I've ever gotten with Zoe is when she decided to kick her sister.
Hmm.
And she was bullying her sister.
Yeah.
Her sister was only 7 months, and she's learning how to stand up and walk and do stuff like that. And when I saw her kick her, because I saw her do it on the baby monitor, when I saw her do that, I immediately was like, I'm going to show you what it's like to be bullied. But I didn't beat her. No, I pushed Zoe. I pushed her down on the floor. And when she went to go stand back up, I pushed her down again. And I said, do you see how like helpless you feel? And she was crying and she was like, I just want to go to my room. And I said, your sister cannot communicate. She cannot tell you how she feels. She's also extremely fragile at this age, and you're kicking her in her back. And you expect it to be okay. And if I hadn't seen you on the camera, what else would you have done before I interrupted?
Hmm.
So after that, I had her go sit in her room, and then I went and I spoke to her about it. And I said, "What was it like for you for me pushing you at my size versus your size?" She was 7,
Hmm.
just last year, and she said, "I didn't like it. I couldn't fight back, and every time you pushed me, I felt like I couldn't help myself." And I said, "That's what your sister felt like, but you were actually causing her pain because you were kicking her,
Yeah.
whereas I was just pushing you down." And I'm like, "Zoe, there's so much that I've changed to make sure that never happens to you. And I make sure it never happens in this household. And I fear that one day we may have to make negative changes to where we have to do bad. And I really hope that never becomes the case.
Yeah.
Like the situation with my older brother. So I really hope that's not the case. Zoe shows a lot of promise. Um, and the adapting to changes she does well with. I just hope that nothing inflicts on either of the girls to where they are no longer welcome,
Yeah.
because I think that's a change I can't adapt with. And I know that there was I can't remember what Zoe did, but you caught her doing something where she risked Ella's safety really badly. And you said to her that Ella could potentially snap her neck from it.
Hmm.
And I told you, I'm like, Manny, if I lose one of my daughters, I don't know if I can recuperate from that. And that's the type of change that I don't know if I can actually deal with.
Yeah.
And you said, well, I don't have a choice because I still have another daughter I have to take care
Hmm.
of. And it's something I've been really thinking about, like, if I lose one of my daughters, can I recuperate to take care of my other one? And I have no idea. I just keep thinking about it every day. And I figured, like, if I just train myself to be mentally stronger, then yeah, I could do it. But I have no idea because I
Yeah.
haven't been in that situation.
Yeah. It's one of those things that you won't know until you do it. That's normal.
What are your thoughts?
You'll never know. It's like having a kid in the first place. You're never ready, you know?
Like, it's easier to say one thing, but
Yeah,
when
like
it
it
comes
doesn't
time to prove or
yeah, like it
shove,
doesn't matter what you think in the lead up, like none of that matters until you do it. It's like when you say, "Oh, I'm going to set an alarm for this time," and then you snooze it. Like sure planning is great or like thinking about it ahead of time is fine, but one of the reasons why I'm so good at adapting is because I don't care about not that I don't care about the future, but
you used to heavily care about the future to where it impeded you.
I mean, like, I still plan out the future and stuff like that, but I realize now that, like, I have no control over the future.
Hmm.
So, me freaking out on it is literally just the future then controlling me. There's no point freaking out. Like, it's whatever ends up coming is going to come. Whether that means a war, whether that means a change in our current lifestyle and changing the way that we currently live our lives, or whether that be my health or like anything, like there's no control.
Hmm.
And we specifically have talked about politics, war, famine, disease. Like there's so much stuff out there. Like the world is a crazy
It
place.
really is.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it really is.
I mean, there's some crazy cool stuff and some crazy bad stuff.
Yeah.
I have no control over it. I just don't.
But how would you adapt though when it's more personal?
In my opinion, right now, the me of right now, no matter what happens, I think that I can get through it if I need to. Like I am confident that I could kill a person today and hug my daughters the same day.
I know, I know you're serious, but like that
Yeah.
is brutal.
That is a normal thought in my head. Cuz like for me, like you've talked about how like you look at the news and it reminds you of what the world is, and I've
Hmm.
told you that I don't need that. Like I know what the world is. I'm ready. Like, I don't
No,
give a
that's a
fuck.
separate topic because we had to go in depth, and you were like, "Well, I didn't know that was going on," and I'm
Yeah, for
like,
sure. But you were
"Manny,
talking about like
come on."
political changes. I'm talking about like I've seen beheadings. Like I've seen like
Yeah,
human trafficking. I've seen huge amount of drugs. Like these are real things
yeah,
that like I've had to deal with as an adult because of my job. Like I get it. Like I see what the world is. I understand history. Like I understand slavery and I understand like all these different civilizations rising and falling and that is what society is. Like I get that.
yeah.
So
I
for
think that's
me,
also a change that Zoe's not ready for
no, and
because
like I said, she won't be.
she's the type of person that she wants to have her curtains on open all the time and her doors and windows unlocked, and we teach her like, no, that's not safe, and other things to different extents, but because of the safety net that we have for
Hmm.
these girls, and we've shielded them from so much bad.
Yeah.
um they only see sunshine and daisies,
Yeah.
and I want to keep it that way. Like, I want them to eventually, not right now, I want them
Hmm.
to eventually be knowledgeable of their surroundings in the world and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But I it's so tough because I want them to keep that innocence as long as possible and just be happy and not have that ruined. And the reason why I say it's so tough is I'm like, even in the second grade right now, you know, one of Zoe's classmates was humping another kid. So
Yeah.
I'm like, that is widely inappropriate, but it also reminds me, I'm like, she's getting closer to the age of seeing and finding out more inappropriate things.
Hmm.
And there's only so much I can shield her from. Because even if
Yeah.
I take her out of public schooling, she's bound to find out some way, in another form.
Yeah. Absolutely. Honestly, that's a part of what when I
That's
talk
not a
about
change I'm ready
controlling.
for.
Well, when I talk about we can't control her, that is one example of that.
Hmm.
So when it comes to the information that she takes in, like I think about this on a pretty regular basis, we can't control that. Like I purposely make sure that she understands that within this house, like she will use her brain. The way that we speak and like the way that I speak with her is the same as the way I speak with any other adult.
Hmm.
Like I use full sentences. I will use terms that she might not understand, and that's just an example to give her so
Room to
she can
grow and
ask.
learn.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
she can actually go through them. Because I hear some of these other kids out there, and I'm like, you guys sound dumb.
Yeah.
Like the terminology that you use, the way that your
Yeah, it's really
diction, your
bad.
tone.
Which I forgot to mention to you that, like, I really appreciate that you do talk to her like she is a human being,
Hmm.
an intelligent human being, because there are countless of times that people are constantly telling us that she's very intelligent.
Yeah,
And to us, we're like, she's just a normal kid. Um, but seeing the comparison,
it's because the bar's so low.
it is very low. Her fellow eight
Year
year
olds.
olds, sorry, are talking as if they're in pre-K, but they're using terminology like skibbity toilet
Yeah.
and all these other dumb things that they're hearing, and I'm just like, this is the problem with their development.
Hmm.
They're not getting enough proper nourishment, and they're getting, what is that called, brain rot in
Yeah.
supplement.
Hmm.
So, like, where they should be getting the good stuff, they're getting fed the bad, like, they're getting the sugary cereal
Yeah, exactly.
instead of eggs and like sausage or something like that, you
Yeah.
know? So that's why, like, I really appreciate just reflecting back on that we've always been like that with Zoe and
Hmm.
even Ella.
Yeah.
Like, even our pets, we talk to them like they're people.
Yeah.
And I think it really helps with the communication here. So, but yeah, anyway, getting back on topic with adjusting to change, that is one of the changes that I'm going to have a very hard time adjusting to. Um, with Zoe learning things that are just too advanced for her age, her maturity,
Hmm.
and her innocence. And I know it's going to happen. but I'm not. It's not that I'm not ready for it, it's that I don't want it to happen.
Yeah,
And it's not something I have control over.
correct. Yeah. Just
So,
from yeah, like at the end of the day, like that's exactly the mindset that you should have. Is you can't control it, but you want what's best for her. That's that's the perfect mentality. Like that's it.
mhm. But that was the last topic I wanted to cover. And
Mm.
also, I'm tired. I'm kind of tired, so I'm ready to call it.
All right, so wrapping it up right here.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.